Hey guys, this is Joe, and with me today, as always, is Eric and Doug, and we are about to deep dive into another cinematic classic. This time, it's going to be the best Tim Burton movie ever made.
Beetlejuice.
Yes.
Nope.
Damn. I thought I had
Say it again, Eric, and then one more time, and we'll be good to go. No.
Come on, keep guessing.
Best Tim Burton movie. I don't know. Nightmare Before Christmas.
Nope.
Oh, Jesus.
Batman.
Ooh, Batman.
Nope. Although, Jack Nicholson is in this movie also.
Oh, no.
It's true.
Oh, no.
And Michael Keaton was almost in it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're not talking about what I think you're talking about.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
We're doing Mars Attacks. Mars Attacks.
Mars Attacks.
Yes, we're doing Mars Attacks.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
The hits just keep on coming.
At least we're not in big trouble anymore.
No, we might actually be in big trouble.
Oh,
This movie is goddamn bananas, sir.
it is.
Now, I'll preface this by saying I saw this movie once when it came out. I think I was 10 or 11 years old. So I do have fuzzy memories of it, or I did have fuzzy memories of it. And yeah, this was quite an experience, man. I don't even know. I don't know where to begin.
Well, why don't we begin with what's going on in your life currently? That should be a nice softball.
Yeah. Well, Thanksgiving happened, so I'm sure I tried and failed to get one of those like deep fried fast food turkeys that everyone's talking about.
Did you catch something on fire?
Yeah, I was going to say, hopefully you didn't burn anything down.
It's possible. It's possible.
It's possible.
Yep. Today's Black Friday, so maybe we have a bunch of people break into stores and knock the doors down, even though there's coronavirus.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's
Or
on
wait,
the
is
agenda.
coronavirus over now that the election's over?
That's true.
Or is the election over?
Well,
It's,
no, we still don't know who the president is.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope I'm
Nevada.
wrong.
Wait, this movie takes place in Nevada partially, right?
That's true. It does.
Oh my God, this movie.
Maybe that's why they can't get the votes, because there's fucking aliens burning everybody down.
Well,
Bueller?
that's about it for me. What's new with you, Joe?
Well, let me see here. I ate a bunch of food for Thanksgiving, I'm assuming, and it was good. There were some turkeys involved and some stuffing.
Turkey's more than one turkey.
Oh, yeah. You got to have like both the smoked turkey, the fried turkey, the roasted turkey. It's just one of those things. What am I, a peasant?
I can't relate to that, man.
And I got to have stuffing. Stuffing's like probably the best side there is.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you guys
100% agree.
do the sandwich the next day with the white bread?
Next day.
Yeah.
You mean like 3 hours after I just got done engorging myself
Right.
for serving? Yeah. I will say, though, I'm ready for pumpkin to be over. I hate pumpkin flavored everything.
Yeah, I am not at all a fan.
Well, because it doesn't taste like pumpkin. It just tastes like cinnamon and nutmeg and shit. Yeah, I'm with you.
And everybody knows that pumpkins are mostly seen in the spring anyways.
It's true. That's true.
I mean, I learned that from Halloween.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Deep cuts.
Yeah, go back and listen to that episode if you haven't.
Yes. You'll learn a lot about the availability of pumpkins in the spring.
Yep. And if you want to skip Big Trouble, I won't blame you, but you're missing an awesome movie.
Watch the movie. Don't listen to the episode.
Well, I mean,
Read the book. Don't watch the movie.
Exactly.
if you listen to the episode, you're going to get the entire movie.
Yeah, it's very true. In
I
great
literally
detail.
could have just played the entire movie on here. It would have been exactly the same, probably better.
It would have been over faster.
That's true.
All right, Doug. So take us on this journey through the mouth of madness here.
Yeah, yeah. So Mars Attacks, directed by Tim Burton. I think this partially happened because Burton was definitely in his heyday when he made this, so he had a lot of gravitas and clout in Hollywood. So he was able to get the gigantic cast. So this is 1996 we're talking about. So, I mean, he already had Beetlejuice, he had Batman, Batman Returns even, Ed Wood, all done before Mars Attacks. He got the idea from... What's that?
Nightmare Before Christmas also.
Yes, okay. So he got the idea from a series of Topps trading cards called Mars Attacks. And it turns out, actually, he apparently didn't realize the story was on the back of the card, so he wrote his own story, but used the artwork and the theme from the cards themselves. So it's a Tim Burton flick. You definitely see his influence in this very heavily. The cameos and people that he uses in other movies, things like that. So, cool thing. It opens up with the Warner Brothers logo, and in this particular version of it, a flying saucer pops out from behind the clouds and sort of buzzes around the logo and then disappears in the clouds again.
That was cool as fuck.
I like when they do stuff like that.
Now, I had these cards when I was a kid.
Did you really?
Yeah. Sandwiched between my Garbage Pail Kids cards and my Wacky Packages cards, I had these old Mars Attacks cards. So I was super pumped for this movie because the art is great. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Now, what's funny is this almost was Dinosaurs Attack because that was the other card series he had that they were trying to decide between if they wanted to do Mars or the Dinosaurs Attack.
Right. I think they went the right direction. As people still may have problems with Mars Attacks. I think they went in the right direction. I don't know.
Yeah, the only thing that kind of sucks for them is simultaneously and unbeknownst to them, Independence Day was being made.
Right.
And would drop 6 months before Mars Attacks.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Yeah. The box office for this movie was not very strong. I mean, it was a $70 million budget, and
no.
Yeah, and that's in 1996 dollars, $70 million.
No.
Domestically,
at least 50 of that went to the cast.
No, that's true. And domestically, it grossed about 40.
Yeah, well, you had to pay Jack Nicholson twice, apparently.
Yeah.
And he also wanted to make this in stop motion originally, but he couldn't because it was going to be like another $30 million to do that.
Right. So he had to go to CGI. And honestly, the CGI is pretty good. It really is.
I mean, it's
especially for 1996.
industrial light and magic. So
yeah, so I had no problems with the CGI in this movie at all.
The reason they ended up going with Mars Attacks instead of Dinosaurs is because he didn't want it to be too similar to Jurassic Park, which came out the year before.
Yep, that makes sense. That does make sense.
Although he didn't realize that Independence Day was coming out this year.
Yeah. And think about the movie before we really dive in. It is a little schizophrenic in its pinning down of the time period it takes place. I mean, it definitely takes place in the 90s, but there are a lot, and this is purposeful, there's a lot of throwbacks to the 50s.
Yeah.
Because that's, he's a huge fan of those old, corny, silly sci-fi movies. So even the saucers.
If we were to call this a genre, would it be like a sci-fi 50s B-side 90s movie?
No, exactly. That sums it up. I mean, the military uniforms were throwbacks to a throwback to the 50s. The saucers themselves were sort of like an homage to Earth versus the Flying Saucers. Right down to the little dishes that fired the weapons out of the bottom of the ships. So, he definitely did a lot of callback and a lot of homage stuff in this movie, which, I don't mind, because, the 50s is before my time, but I kind of remember it.
It's got a charm to it.
Yeah, exactly. So
Doug was talking about the 1850s, by the way.
Yes, the 18, exactly, baby. Pre-Civil War. But, I'm willing to share, but not in this show. We'll do another cast about that. So. All right. So we get through the opening, Warner Brothers shot with the flying saucer, And, we have what we call the prelude, a quick scene. It takes place before the opening credits. So, it starts off 4 miles outside Lockjaw, Kentucky. I love that name.
Yeah. We get some mild racism.
Yeah, just a bit. So, see this farmer tooling down a road on his tractor, and he stops to talk to Mr. Lee. And, automatically assumes he's Filipino, even though he's Chinese. But, because whatever, we won't go into it, but, that's normal. So he asked him, what is this, Filipino New Year? And the guy, Mr. Lee looks at him like, what's wrong with you? Why are you asking me that question? Yeah, because I can smell you cooking from the interstate. What is it, beef? And then Mr. Lee notices the same smell, but it's not coming from me. And you see this glow, over the road, over a hill at the end of the road, this red glow that gets brighter and brighter. And Mr. Lee's family comes running out of the house because they notice the smell. They notice this weird sound, so they're a little frightened. They come out, and there is a herd of what we guess is some kind of animal on fire running down the road towards them.
Well, they're cows.
And, yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. As they get closer, we see they are cattle, and they run right by the group, and they're all looking in shock and horror at these, this group of cattle that's on fire and moving down the road. As soon as that passes, they hear a whirring noise from behind the house, and they look up to see a good old-fashioned 50s sci-fi flying saucer take off behind the house and shoot up into the sky.
That is how I like my steak cooked, by the way.
Okay, that's good.
Rare on the inside with a little bit of a singe on the outside.
Well, yep. And there's a reference to that a little bit later in the movie as to a good name for those cattle. Anyway, so we see the saucer leave the atmosphere. It flies past the moon and it heads towards an unusually large Mars. Looks a little bit bigger and closer, but that's fine. Heads towards Mars, and then the view changes from that saucer to the surface of Mars, where we see hundreds of these same saucers rising up from the surface, and they're heading towards Earth. The credits start at this time, and that cool 50s sci-fi movie music starts playing. And
that's
score,
Danny Elfman.
Yep, Danny Elfman, Oingo Boingo. So, he works almost regularly, or worked at least almost regularly with Mr. Burton. So they teamed up again for this movie.
He almost didn't, though, because he had creative differences during Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yes.
And he skipped Ed Wood because of that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Now, what I like is the song that plays, it's very reminiscent of a song from the suite called The Planets, the Mars song, which is in 5/4. That
Yes.
But this has a very similar type feel to this intro song, but it's more of like you said, with the 50s sci-fi thrown in as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's got that synthy, woo thing going on. Yeah, exactly. So,
which ironically enough, you think they wouldn't want to play that song on Mars like that?
What?
That's a little bit of a spoiler towards the end of the movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true.
That high pitched woo, woo.
Right.
You don't think they'd want to play that near that planet?
Very true. So, the credits roll. We get through the credits, and things kick off. We get our first view of Jack. He needs no second name, but it is Nicholson. We love that dude and anything that he does. And he
speak
does
for yourself.
All right. Well, again, stories for another day. But yes,
well, it's
Jack,
good that he doesn't need a name, though, because I don't think he has a name in the movie. I think he's just the president.
Yeah, I know. His name is James Dale, but nobody ever
is it?
refers to him. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I didn't know he actually had a name. I thought he was Mr. President.
Yeah, he's not referred to by either of those. It is Mr. President. But yes, it's President James Dale. He is looking over some grainy photos of what are definitely flying saucers. And obviously, as the president, he's concerned. I do find it funny that he references these pictures come from the Hubble. And I know there was some problems with the Hubble, but they certainly wouldn't be that grainy, even before they fixed it. But anyway, we can tell that they're flying saucers. So he's in the Oval Office looking at this, and they've got the whole crew there. They've got his press secretary, Jerry Ross, and Professor Donald Kessler, who's the intellectual, subject matter expert. They've got a couple of Army generals with very contrasting styles of how they like to do their jobs. General Decker, played by Rod Steiger. He's one of my favorite character actors ever. And I think he does a fantastic job in this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then General Casey, which is Paul Winfield, another cool actor. Definitely varied roles he did in his career.
I was listening to an interview with Pierce Brosnan, and he says, my first day on set, I'm sitting in a room with Jack Nicholson, Glenn Close, Natalie Portman, Martin Short, Rob Steigler. And he's like, this is like a who's who. He's like, I felt like the least qualified person in the room.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's that's what this movie is about. It is definitely cast focused. I mean, there, it's a cavalcade of superstars, and the list goes on, and we meet them as the movie, as the movie rolls. So, they're doing what you would expect to be done in the Oval Office. They're debating on how to handle this situation. Do they tell the public? Don't they? Do we attack? I mean, General Decker is like, he just wants to knock him out of the sky from the get-go. And, I might use this word a little too much, but he gets neutered at every turn. He gets just cut off at every turn. So it's very frustrating for him. So they seem to take the tack that they are going to, embrace this. Dr. Kessler convinces the president that we could learn from these people and, from these beings because, in order to travel the way they do, they must be super intelligent. So Jack requests a speech from his press secretary, who's played by Martin Short. He just sums it up. He goes, write me a speech. Abraham Lincoln meets Leave It to Beaver. Yeah. You know the drill. So, he's got his modus operandi down. He knows how he needs to lay it out to the American people, because this is timeless when it comes to politics. In the end, it's all about getting reelected. So the decisions that are made are not made for the good of the people a lot of times. They're made just to get reelected. So obviously in 96, that wasn't any different than today.
I don't know. They're not promising shit today. They're stuck in their viewpoints.
Yeah, that's
today.
True. Yeah, we're in a time warp, but that's anyway. So
we don't even know yet what the results are. So
right,
and it's been a month.
Exactly. So we cut to a quick scene of the First Lady, played by Glenn Close. Her name is Marcia Dale. She's a piece of work. It's Glenn Close at her best. I love it. Because you don't see her in comedic roles too often, but she nailed it. She really did a good job with this role. She's reviewing fabric choices for the Roosevelt room, looking at fabric for the curtains. And her daughter, Taffy, great name, is sitting on the couch, largely being ignored and ignoring at the same time, what a teenager does. And her mom is basically covering her with the fabric swatches. She looks at one, doesn't like it, she tosses it, and they're landing on top of Taffy.
Maybe we should leave it how the Roosevelts designed it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yes, exactly. That's Taffy's quip.
Natalie Portman was kind of my Brooke Shields to you also.
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
We're about the same age, so that worked out.
Yep. Actually, she grew up in a town that I lived in for a little while on Long Island. Yeah. So she was a local superstar in the film and theater industry before she hit it big internationally. But yeah, so she makes the reference, why don't we leave it the way the Roosevelts wanted it? And Marcia's comment was because Eleanor Roosevelt was too fond of chintz. And I thought that was funny because I for a long time I worked in the garment district in Manhattan, so I know what chintz is. It's just a cheap, very multicolored fabric that's used for mostly curtains. And, I get it from that snobby perspective that Marcia is applying, that, she wants to change things up. But again, it goes down to the fact that it's all about her.
And the butler's talking about the cost.
Right, the cost, and she doesn't care. And then the photographer moves in, and the focus is right back on the First Lady. She pushes the fabric sample guy out of the way just to get the pictures because she's the First Lady, so she should be entitled to this.
And she's complaining about the chandelier too for some reason.
Yeah, that comes up later in a bigger way, and I still haven't been able to determine what she called that chandelier. Obviously, is a reference to a previous president, but I couldn't find it.
Was it Monroe?
No, it might have been. I mean, there was the Van Buren China, which we'll talk about. It could have been the Monroe chandelier. I don't know, but we'll get to it. So, our next scene, we move to Las Vegas, Nevada. One of my favorite cities on earth, as a lot of you may know. And an exterior shot of the Luxor, which is actually one of my favorite hotels in Las Vegas. Maybe not to stay at, but definitely to hang out in, just because the atmosphere inside is so cool. So we see the Luxor, and we get our first look at Byron Williams. He's a championship boxer who's sort of past his prime. So he's doing anything he can to make a buck. He's dressed as a pharaoh, King Tut, whoever you want to call him.
Taking
just
pictures
to do
with nuns.
Yeah, right. Just to do photo ops. So yeah, he's got three nuns he's taking pictures of, and they're just fawning over him because they're big fans of his career. They watched him fight Sonny Liston in '69, and
And
they're just happy to be there.
We gotta mention he's played by the legendary Jim Brown.
That's true. You're right. Yes. It's Jim Brown, and yes, he is an absolute legend on and off the field. So it's cool to see him. And he digs what he's doing in the sense that he's a nice guy. So yeah, he'll take pictures with the nuns. He's getting paid to do it.
Yeah.
It's funny, he gets a call from his ex-wife Louise, who's in D.C. with the boys, and they just page him on the casino floor, and he picks up the phone and talks to his wife. I doubt it works like that in real life, but that's fine.
Well, this was back in the '90s too.
Yeah, it's true. So he's getting side-eyed from the pit boss because he's supposed to be out on the floor working, but it's his wife, so they're divorced, but he still loves her, so he wants to talk to her. This is funny because she's worried because the boys, which is pretty much what they're called the whole movie. They have names, but they don't really use them that much. The boys haven't been home in 2 days, and Byron says they're at that age. And I'm laughing at this because, the first time you don't know, the boy's age. But having seen it, I know the boy's age. They're like 13 and 10.
Yeah.
And they're not home for 2 days. So, that's a little messed up. Right?
Well, this is the inner city.
No, I know. But, I guess I'm a sheltered suburban boy. So what do I know?
See, I kind of grew up in the hood. I got a whole different feeling for this.
Yeah, you grew up in the... Okay, we'll leave you with that memory, Joe. Let you wrap yourself in it. And so the older boy, that's actually Ray J, who I guess there's two things I know him from, Moesha and the Kim Kardashian sex tape. So, so he grows up to have a little bit of fun in his life, I guess. So they are, they are concerned. The boys are out, but they'll turn up. We don't worry about that. Then we jump back to Vegas. Or no, we're still in Vegas, but the phone call was between D.C. and Vegas. So we're in Vegas now. Still in the casino. And we meet Barbara and Art Land. So that's Annette Bening and Jack Nicholson again.
Doug, do you understand how confused I was at this
Oh,
point
I get it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, originally when this movie was pitched to Nicholson, Tim Burton asked him who he'd want to play, and he said, "Let me just play everybody." He wanted to do like a whole Peter Sellers thing.
Oh
Yep.
my God.
And Burton did want Michael Keaton for this. He wanted to reunite Keaton, and even though they reunite them, their characters don't meet in the movie, but he wanted to have them on set together. So Keaton being Art Land and Nicholson being the president. It might have worked. I mean, I think, the whole dynamic of that Art Land character works because of Nicholson's age. Like Michael Keaton, I think, would have been too young in '96 to play. He could have, in a normal situation, played Annette Bening's husband because they're actually close in age.
Yeah.
But the smarmy, casino owner, sort of like kind of on the outside mob guy. I just think Nicholson did it well.
Yeah, he had to be douchey, and Nicholson played the douche perfect.
Right. Yes, and he had.
I think Randy Quaid could have played a great role in that too.
Yes,
yeah.
I agree. I agree with that. Exactly. I think he could have pulled that off. But yeah, he had to be douchey. He had to, he had to have some season. He had to be seasoned.
My pick would have been anyone other than Jack Nicholson because he's already in the fucking movie.
No, I get it. It is confusing as hell. Jack's accent is really bad.
Oh,
Yeah.
He sounds like he's got.
He sounds like me to a New York guy.
Well, yes, and he's got a sinus infection. His nose is, and I don't know if that was on purpose or what, but he talked like his nose, like he had a deviated septum with a Texas accent. Like I don't want to offend people from Texas. It's supposed to be a
do.
Texas accent,
Okay,
but
why
it's
not?
not. You know, but yeah, his nose is stuffed the whole time. You know, it's kind of weird.
I have a note here that says Nicholson doing a Texas accent is torture.
Yeah, yeah. I have
Pure
Jack's
torture.
accent. Yep, I have Jack's accent is a stuffy-nosed Texan. You know,
Oh.
and yeah,
Like, you got to think of that time period, though, because this is mid-'90s. So who in the mid-'90s would have played that character well? Honestly, Danny DeVito could have been that character.
Yeah.
he could. Yes, he could have done that absolutely, because he can do that. There's no question. But
And, like, what's more funny than a short, fucking, like, overcompensating guy that's trying to build
Yes.
this giant tower, and he's a little tiny short guy.
exactly. But you know, we got Jack. We're stuck with Jack. You know, we got to roll with it. So I mean, there's an interesting conversation between the husband and the wife just to establish their personalities. Barbara is definitely a crunchy granola, or at least she's masquerading as a crunchy granola hippy dippy girl. Worried about the earth, worried about just things like that. She complains about him drinking in front of her, and his line is great. And again, I think it's great because I dig Jack so much, and he says it just like Jack. He's like, "You're an adult, just cope."
Yeah.
He takes a drink.
Now, that was originally going to be Susan Sarandon playing that character.
Really? Okay. All right. I think Annette Bening did a good job with that. Susan Sarandon would have done a great job with that as well.
Yeah.
She could have
I
pulled
think
that
there's
off.
no loss in the
Yeah,
actors
exactly.
change.
Yeah, Annette Bening, I think, did a really nice job with the role, so I was cool with that. But yeah, Art's in the casino to scope things out because he's building his own Galaxy Hotel, on the Strip. So he's scoping out the place to see how things are done. It's a little weird if you're gonna build your own casino, you should already kind of know that stuff. But whatever. He's just hanging out. He's being the louse.
And also not already have the building built up.
Yeah, exactly. He's just being the louse that he is. It's funny because Barbara, talks about greed killing the planet and stuff, but when Art tells her to go play roulette, she takes those chips like a happy kid at Christmas
Yep.
and runs off to do her roulette stuff. So, it's kind of funny, but I guess that was meant to be that way anyway. We then transition to New York City, Wednesday, May 10th at 5:26 p.m. Love
Every
the opening.
time-
What's
Every
that?
time I see this, though, and it's in any movie pre 9/11, and I see New York City with the Twin Towers, it's like a shock.
Well, I have the note here. I mean, for me, it's a great shot of the skyline. It helps me, not that I'll ever forget, but it helps me remember the way it
Yeah.
was. Yeah. So I really appreciate that, and even knowing that obviously in '96 that wasn't even a thought in anybody's head. But I love that skyline shot because that is my favorite part of Manhattan, even today after. So yeah, I really dug that. I have that actually in bold on my notes, just to mention that shot. So we go to a TV studio where Natalie Lake and Jason Stone work. So that's Sarah Jessica Parker and Michael J. Fox. And this is younger, better-looking Sarah J. Parker. I guess I'm being bad, but
No,
Yeah.
no, it's pretty accurate.
she looked good back in the day. Anyway, all right. Did I say she's no Brooke Shields? We'll leave it at that. Okay.
Or Natalie Portman.
Or Natalie Portman, exactly. All right. So they work in this studio. They're hanging out, waiting for a show to start. It's her Today in Fashion show. She's the hot ticket in fashion. Is Natalie? So they're waiting for that to start, and they get a call that says the president is going to interrupt the programming to review some things with the country. The producer's like, "What? The real president? What? What? The actual president? Yes, the actual president. He's going to do that." You can immediately tell that Jason Stone, Michael J. Fox, is very self-absorbed. He's
Yeah.
looking at the monitor of an earlier, portion of the news day that he was on and talking about how good his hair looks. So he's definitely in, and he is wondering why the president wants to interrupt the show. So then, we cut to Jack as President Dale. He's doing a fireside chat, which I thought was, it's kind of funny. I mean, he's definitely throwing back to Roosevelt's fireside chats to calm the people of America. So I guess that was the point. Everybody on the executive team is behind the camera watching him do this. And, he talks about extraordinary events in his life and how this is up there or beats all of them, and reveals the existence of extraterrestrial life. So, you don't get any reaction shots to that, but you assume the American people are losing their minds a little bit, because I'm sure that would happen today or at any point in time if that was revealed.
I don't know. Today we're pretty well broken in with ancient aliens.
Yeah,
they've kind of set us up for
Yeah.
us. Like,
We
we know this is kind of what's happening.
it's just going to roll off. Yeah, they're already among us, so it's okay.
Yeah, George Tsoukalos kind of took the heat off.
Exactly. So we are now in Perkinsville, Kansas, May 10th, 4:28 p.m. So they're actually keeping a pretty cool time frame accurately, because it is, well, I don't know, is Kansas an hour or 2 hours behind us? So it doesn't matter. Anyway, so it's 4:28 p.m. in Perkinsville, Kansas. We meet our protagonist, or one of our protagonists in this large cast. It's a kid named Richie Norris, and he is watching the president from his place of work, which is Bob's Donut World. It seems like the town of Perkinsville has some trailers and a large field where the bus picks you up and they bury you, and then there's the Donut World.
Yeah.
And then they're all right next to each other. So, he's just...
I was
that?
so envious of him. Like, when he's just laying on the counter at work, I'm like, oh, that looks so
right?
much fun.
Exactly. And, he doesn't have a care in the world. You can see he's got zero motivation to do anything else in his life. I mean, he's a teenager. So
Yeah.
he's just, the president's talking about extraterrestrials. It doesn't matter if he was talking about that or he was talking about people from under the sea, Richie's just watching the TV. He thinks it's pretty cool. So, yeah.
That's
so
because it's 4:28. You know what you did at 4:20?
Yeah, very true. Good point. So we are now back in Vegas, and everybody in the casino, with the exception of one person, is watching the TV, listening to the president. That one person is Danny DeVito at his awful best.
A.K.A. Rude Gambler.
Rude Gambler, that's his name in the credits. He doesn't even get a real name. Rude Gambler. He is hell bent on rolling those dice. So, he's swinging that arm back. He's rolling those dice. He's yelling, and when he rolls out the dice, and he finally realizes no one's paying attention, and it doesn't matter to him what they're looking at. It just matters to him they're not looking at him.
Yeah.
So he's like, hey, am I the only one shooting dice here? Hey, and no one's listening to him. They're all looking at what the president's saying. We're talking about, aliens coming to Earth. So we stay in Vegas and we move to the Land Mansion. Barbara's sitting cross-legged on a float in the indoor pool in a meditative position, and she is super excited about these aliens coming. She thinks it's the best thing ever. They must be coming to save us from ourselves. They're going to teach us so many cool things. So she is extremely excited about this. We then get our first exterior shot of Art's Galaxy Hotel. It's out of this world, so that's a real creative slogan.
Yeah.
That was
Looks like
actually
the,
the old
Stardust.
Landmark Hotel,
Oh.
which was demolished at the time the movie was being shot. Or actually, I think it happened before, but
Yep.
Burton used a lot of the actual footage of that hotel being demolished later in the film.
So it
when-
was called Landmark?
the Landmark Hotel.
For some
Yeah.
reason, I was thinking it was Stardust, but I guess that's a different one.
No, Stardust was bigger than that.
Okay.
It's close by because you can actually see the Stardust signs in a couple of the shots.
Yeah, that's
So-
why I was thinking it was the Stardust.
Yeah. No, it's actually right now. It's not even that they build another casino. It is part of the Las Vegas Convention Center parking lot. So
that's wonderful.
it didn't even become another casino. Past that, I don't know much more about it. That was way before my Vegas time, but I've done a little history brush up on that. So we see Art is he's in the hotel because it's not open yet, but they're able to inhabit it. So he's up in his office and he's watching the president as well. He's yelling on the phone about something or other because that's what he does. He's just a yelly guy. And we cut back to Taffy, the first daughter. She's munching down on some pizza, watching her dad on the television. She has the best little quips, the best little throwaway lines in the movie. She just, her dad references Intelligent Life, and she's like, yeah, well, at least they found it somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. And then his speech ends. So we find ourselves back in New York City. It's the next day, 5:26 a.m., so it's kind of early. Burton uses a classic shot that you see in a lot of movies, up till his day, but especially back in the day, is the bundles of newspaper being thrown from the back of the truck. I mean, that did, in the days of newspapers, I mean, they're still kind of around, but, that was still a thing in real life Manhattan that early in the morning.
Did you catch the joke there?
What's that?
That the New York Times had this thing like, aliens are coming here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
No, and then the New York Post just said Martians.
Yeah, that's in my notes. Absolutely. I mean, I got it. It's a nice juxtaposition of styles. Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
I was wondering if you caught that as a New Yorker.
Yeah, oh, definitely. So that was, and I don't know, I couldn't find out why. So it was the New York Tribune, which actually stopped publishing in 1966, but it was almost the paper of record for New York City at the time. It was on par with the Times as far as that, almost elitist way of reporting, that very dry, way of reporting. I don't know if they did that because they couldn't get the Times to agree, or he just wanted to maybe just do a throwback, because we're obviously referencing the 50s in a lot of ways in this movie. So, and in the closing credits, there is actually, a thank you for being able to use the New York Tribune logo and such.
But the Post was the Post, right?
Oh yeah, the Post is a Post. It's always been the Post, and yeah, Martians. And in fact, that's tame for the Post. But we can leave that alone. So we cut to Jason and Natalie's apartment, and we get a second interesting, juxtaposition of style, so to speak, in that Jason's reading the Tribune and Natalie's reading the Post, and that sort of sums up their characters as well as to where they are in their lives. It sort of makes sense that they're doing that. So we meet Natalie's dog, Poppy, the little yappy Chihuahua, who clearly doesn't like Jason, has a problem with him, doesn't try to bite him, but constantly barks at him. Poppy probably understands how vapid and self-absorbed he is, and she doesn't want anything to do with it. Little piece of trivia, that dog was Lisa Marie, who played the female alien later in the movie and was actually engaged to Tim Burton at the time. So that was her real-life dog. I can't imagine the dog's still alive today.
I heard she was also Jack Nicholson's girlfriend.
Yeah, I think I read that too. She was with Tim Burton, I think, from right before this movie until like 2001. And Burton, I mean, I don't know, how he is as a person, but he met on the set of Planet of the Apes. He kind of got together with Helena Bonham Carter and dumped Lisa Marie very badly. So, I mean, that sort of thing goes on there in Hollywood. So that was Lisa Marie's dog in real life. They used her for the movie. And she plays an integral part later in the flick. So the dog is definitely around. Jason kind of gets pissed off. He finds out that Natalie is going to get to interview Dr. Donald Kessler, who's played by Pierce Brosnan, and not him. And he can't get his head around it because he's the serious newsman and she's the fashion girl. And just her comment is, well, I can't help it if your people are too slow. And that pisses him off even more, but what are you going to do? We are back in Kansas now, where Richie gets home to the trailer. The family is just classic trailer family. They did a great job of casting that. Tim Burton did a great job of casting that. Yeah. They're sitting around the table. Billy Glenn, played by Jack Black, pretty much pre-famous Jack Black.
Yeah,
he's done a couple of things you might have noticed.
Small
but,
and skinny.
Yeah, exactly. So he was, he was coming up, But when I saw the movie in '96, it's not like I went, "Oh, that's Jack Black." I didn't know him from anybody really. So yeah, he is assembling a rifle blindfolded while his dad times him because he's in the Army. He's just joined the military, and he's just practicing his skills because he's going to be a lean, mean fight machine. Joe Don Baker plays his dad, and I've always loved him as a character actor too. He actually played Buford Pusser in the original Walking Tall. So you had that rock version, which was,
I like the rock version with Johnny Knoxville.
Well, yeah, it certainly had a lot more humor in it and a lot more action. I mean, the original Walking Tall was serious shit because Buford Pusser was a real person. Yeah. He lived through what that was. So the first movie was a more realistic portrayal of what he went through. But Joe Don Baker did a great job just carrying that big fucking post and beating the shit out of people. So it was cool to see him in there. And then we get to this is a little throwback to the opening prelude scene before the credits. So Mom is reading the Weekly World News, and up in the corner is sort of a semi-little headline that says Kentucky Fried Cattle. It makes reference to those burning cows in Lockjaw, Kentucky from a few days before.
But it wouldn't really be fried.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But, you got to work with what you got, right?
That's true.
So Billy Glenn, he lets everybody know that he's volunteered for the Martian detail. And I made a note here that Jack Black's accent is like pure Forrest Gump. Okay? If you listen back, he's trying to sound like Forrest Gump in this thing, because I don't know if he knows what kind of accent he's trying to do, because it's obviously not a Kansas accent. But he works with what he's got. He does a fine job with the few lines he has. We meet Grandma Florence for the first time. Also integral to the movie plot, she is a pisser, to use the old school word that we did when we were kids. Yeah. The woman is a friggin' pisser. She's a firecracker. The actress is Sylvia Sidney. She was in Beetlejuice, so she worked with Tim Burton previously. And Mars Attacks was her last film. She passed away not long after. But she just asked, and I don't know if you guys... So her quote in this scene is, "Have any of you traitors seen my Muffy?" But I don't know if she says traitors. I think it makes sense that she does, but it was just hard to hear it. But, so she's already demonstrating that, she is, as is referenced later in the movie, halfway to outer space already.
Yeah.
She's got some lucid moments,
Dementia.
And she's got some out there moments. So, we're introduced to Grandma. And we can already tell that Richie has a very great affinity for his grandma, more so than anybody else in the family. They couldn't give a shit about her. But Richie really loves his grandma. And that's demonstrated later in the flick. So,
Yep.
So with this movie, we're doing a lot of bouncing from scene to scene, because with the size of the cast and the clout of the stars in the cast, there's a lot going on, and Tim Burton does his best with this.
I was gonna say, you got any aliens in your Alien movie?
Yeah, well, I know.
Real little quick bit of trivia with the grandma.
Yeah.
She keeps calling them Thomas. That's Jack Black's real first name.
Yes. Yeah, I know. She calls everybody Thomas. And then she asks Shaw, I want to see Richie. And, Richie's sitting next to her. So, yeah. Yep. Eric, I get it. It was almost like Halloween, with the first murder being, 55 minutes into an hour and a half long movie. I think he's trying to stretch this thing. Again, he's got a lot of tools to work with, or that he has to work with, because he's paying these people good money. So
that's true. And those CGI aliens got to be expensive, man.
Yeah. Well, yes. But he's got to satisfy a lot of egos in that Hollywood cast. So, he's going to stretch this for as long as he can. But yeah, we're waiting a while. We are definitely waiting a while to see our alien. So we now move to Washington, D.C., but not the White House or any other government office. We are meeting Louise while she's driving her bus. She's a bus driver. And she's on the route, and she glances out and sees the boys in a video arcade, and they're playing Flesh Eaters. I don't think that was a real game. I don't know. The zombies in it sort of, look eerily similar to the aliens, but not quite.
Yeah,
But-
the artwork was, I think, based on the trading cards. Because
Okay.
Yeah, that's how a lot of the art on those Topps cards looked.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So yeah, and they're obviously very good at this game. They are killing the flesh eaters left and right. Um, Mama Louise stops that bus on a dime, and she just apologizes to her passengers, saying she needs just a minute. And she gets into the arcade and does her best mama and wrangles those boys up. The younger one doesn't want to come near her, and she goes, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going to hurt you. And he falls for it and comes in. So she's got them both by the scruff, and she brings him back to the bus, throws him in the back, and the passengers give her a big round of applause because she did the right thing, getting her boys back home. So this is where we see Jerry Ross, the PR director, again played by Martin Short. He is a sleazebag, this guy. He is a 1996 player at his worst, not even best. He's just gross. He's tooling around his government-issued limo, just picking up hookers. And his ploy, like you need a ploy with a prostitute, his ploy is to just explain how stressful his job is. And
You
they're
would
eating it up.
not understand.
Yeah, exactly. He thinks that's going to win him over. So luckily, Burton keeps it light, doesn't go any further with that. We just see him as the smarmy guy that he is, and then we move on. But he is a sleazebag.
Did you notice that the hooker was chewing gum?
Oh no, I didn't. That's funny.
Like very blatantly, the one that was in the reflection of the window was chewing gum the whole time.
You know what? Now that you say it, yes, because that one you could only see her in the reflection of the window. You didn't see her from the interior shots because she didn't fit in the window frame. So that, and I can visualize that now. So yeah, he's used to the gum chewing. As I guess we're setting that up for later.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice little setup.
Yeah. So as the movie goes, we are ping ponging across the country to all the sites where our main players live and reside and work. So we're back in Vegas now. Byron's trying to get some more money from the pit boss, but the pit boss is not having it. He just he says I could get Leon Spinks or Buster Douglas for the same price, maybe even less.
Yeah.
So Byron is shut down, and the reason he's looking for more money is he wants to get home. Again, they're divorced, but he loves his wife, he loves his kids, he knows they need him, and he wants to get home. So he'll do anything he can to do it, and that was the first step, was to ask for that raise. So we are out of Vegas. Now we're looking at saucers. A lot of them. They're surrounding Earth. They're getting ready to do their thing. So they're looking at the Earth and these hundreds and hundreds of saucers around it. We then move to Today in Fashion, the Today in Fashion studio in New York. Natalie is about to interview Dr. Kessler. They're sitting in a couple of very Men in Black style chairs. They look extremely uncomfortable. They didn't drag a table across the floor, but
It looked like they were getting ready to shoot a ska music video.
There you go. Yeah. So, they're sitting in the chairs and they are flirting with each other like nuts. There's definitely an instant connection. Jason immediately recognizes this, and he's watching them intently because he sees something's going on. The president and the first lady are also watching this interview. They're sitting on the couch eating dinner off TV trays.
So I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, the dog's just sitting there. He's just hanging out. So they're watching that. And I can't say enough about Glenn Close. She gets me in every scene, even when she doesn't say anything. Her facial expressions and her attitude. That's why she is one of the best actresses to ever walk the earth. She even demonstrates it in a movie like this, where maybe that skill might not be needed, but she can't help herself because she's just so good at it. So I really dig her character in this. As they're starting the interview, and Natalie's asking him questions. he's talking about because they're so advanced, Kessler is, they're so advanced, there's so much we can learn from them. She's completely enamored with the science guy thing. He's so smart, so she's really digging him for that. But as they're doing the interview, we start to, we get in the control booth and we see a lot of interference on the screen, fuzziness. Picture goes out, and Eric, here you go. We finally get our first view of the alien.
Yes.
Okay. The one of the head aliens, I think it's the ambassador. I'm not sure. He pops up on the screen, and I have it in all caps. First look at the Martians. Yay!
Now I thought this was a really clever way to introduce the alien because even though the CG was good for the time, it's still a little uncanny valley.
It's cartoony. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
to show it like on a fuzzy kind of TV
Yes.
screen at first, sort of, it eases you into it.
Oh, and it had a very 50s look, a very 50s TV look.
Yeah.
So, it was part of the throwback. But
It
you're
also
right.
felt like how Star Trek would meet new aliens a lot of times.
Yes. No,
They
exactly.
come in on the view screen.
Yep.
Exactly. So, so we get our first view of the aliens. We hear the famous words, ack, ack, spoken, the alien language. I read, a little bit of trivia on that. They, the writers really obviously had no idea what a Martian would sound like, so they put the words "ack" for everything, and it stuck. So,
Yeah, it's actually a duck recorded and played backwards.
yeah, it makes total sense. It makes total sense. Very duck-like is what I put, and that makes total sense. Jack in Jack Best, again, because I love the guy so much, he's sitting there, he's got like the sandwich or whatever he's eating halfway to his mouth, and he doesn't jump up and he's not shocked. He just goes, "Yikes!" when he sees the alien. And it's a Jack delivery, so I love it. And Glenn Close, the first lady, she's like, "I'm not having that thing in my house, honey."
Yeah.
And the president's like, "We may have to." Well, they're not going to use the Van Buren China.
The funniest line.
Which is perfect for her character. That's the stuck-up, snobby first lady. Nope, the Van Buren
Yeah,
China.
that's
is
what she's
off,
worried about.
right? That's off the table, figuratively and literally. They're not getting it. So we again cut to Richie, who's hanging out in the donut world. He's working. And he's just watching. There's really nothing going on there. He is a very stereotypical teenager. He's like, all right, we're just going to roll with it. Or, as we previously said, he could be just stoned off his ass. Who knows? We go back to Natalie in the studio. She's shocked. And then one of the definitely good lines, great lines in the movie is, Richie looks, or the alien does, puts his arm out and does this dot and then a circle in the air. And Richie's line is, "He made the international sign of the donut."
Which I didn't know was a thing.
Yeah, exactly. And he's not wrong. That's what it looked like, We learn later exactly what it is, but, that's what he did. And that was Richie's line. It was definitely one of the good ones. So we are, again, bouncing around. We're back in the White House. There's an internal briefing, and all the key players are there. Same group as, when we first started and first saw the photos of the saucers. Kessler is talking about Martian anatomy. They're carbon-based life form. They breathe nitrogen, and they have possible telepathic ability. And correct me, guys, but it never happens. I don't even know why it was brought up, because it really... I do have a note. There's one scene later in the movie where it may be used, but it's certainly not directly referenced.
Well, I like the fact that they know what the inside of the anatomy of the thing looks like, even though they've never seen one other than in a video.
Exactly. But yeah, he's figured it. Well, he's the the most brilliant mind on the planet, so he's figured this all out. I guess. I don't know. I made a reference, I think, even in our last episode about the quote translation machine, because this is so stupid, but it's so damn funny because it keeps happening. You got that buffoonish scientist who's working the quote translation machine, and he's just spinning like tape back and forth.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it never fucking works right. I actually went as far as to write down what it translated from the Martian. And it says, all green of skin, 800 centuries ago, their bodily fluids include the birth of half-breeds. Whatever. For the functional truth in self-determination of the cosmos. For dark is the sway that mows the harvest. And my note is, translation machine. Because you have no fucking idea what they're talking about.
Well, it works later.
Oh, no, it kind of does. It does, but it's just the fumbling nature of the scientist. And it's a shit show, and it's just funny. I guess it's supposed to be a joke, and whether intentionally or unintentionally, it tickled me. I was laughing every time I saw it. While all this is going on, Burton felt the need to really demonstrate Taffy being that bored, angsty teenager. Because she's just wandering the halls of the White House. She's bored. She's ignored. She's just, I'm a teenager. I guess I got to put this 30-second scene in, or 10-second scene, just to demonstrate how teenager I am. We see that. So the White House, what's that? Nobody?
Huh?
Uh-oh.
Sorry, there's a tour going on in here.
Yeah, exactly.
I like when Richie talks to his grandma, says, I bet you're psyched about the Martians coming. You see a lot of crazy stuff already. Everyone must have been real scared when they invented the train.
I know.
How old do you think I am?
Exactly, and that's the thing. That's one of the instances where grandma she's on point. She's among the living because that's
what's funny is I've asked Doug that same thing, or he's asked me that same question like 50 times. How old do you think I am?
It's very true. That's very true.
I'm Richie and Doug's the grandma.
Yeah, exactly. Grandma Florence. That's what you can call me. So again, we transport
a pussy cat.
We transport across the country back to Las Vegas. We are now in a church at a AA meeting that Barbara is attending because she is, she's on the wagon. She's trying her best. She is still, at this point, very excited about the aliens because they're going to save the world and teach us all how to be better human beings. So she is just pouring this spiel all over the fellow AA members, trying to get them all, lathered up and rally around this great event that's going to happen, because they're coming to save us. We jump back to Kansas, and the family is seeing Billy Glenn off, including his girlfriend Sharona, who's played by Christina Applegate, who doesn't utter a single word.
Damn.
Yeah. I mean, it's Christina Applegate, but
that outfit.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And they were all over each other. I mean, it was like talk about a really disturbing PDA. I mean, they're all over each other.
They live in a trailer,
No, it's true. But so Christina Applegate at this point, she had years of
children.
Yeah, under her belt. Yet she didn't say an actual word. She didn't speak an actual word in this whole movie. She was in 3 scenes, and she didn't speak a word. It was just odd to me.
She didn't need to.
No. All right, Joe. I think we found another one of Joe's crushes.
Yeah, I'll take that one too.
All right. But yeah, she doesn't say anything in this movie. It's kind of funny. But they're all seeing Billy Glenn off, and it's kind of funny that, it's a very tiny town. We've talked about this already. And
it's like Miami.
Yes, exactly. Why couldn't the bus station be in front of the donut shop as opposed to a half mile down a fucking dirt road?
I don't know.
They had to walk.
Apparently
down.
A lot of fucking people live in that town because they show up for the funeral.
Oh yeah, I know exactly. So it just struck me as odd. They're at the edge of an open field, a half mile from the donut shop, for the bus stop.
I think it's because they wanted that last shot where they zoomed out and you got that side profile.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. I guess. Billy Glenn says goodbye to Richie and he drops the R word, which obviously wouldn't fly today. There are a couple of instances of that in this movie, of things that definitely would not happen in today's cinema. His whole thing, he is just, don't touch my stuff, because that's what he's worried about. And Grandma, as usual, is just confused. She doesn't know what's going on, so she's definitely in one of her out there phases. And then this is the scene. This is the scene that you just referenced, Eric. So yeah, Richie's taking Grandma back to the home, and they have the conversation about shit she's seen. How old do you think I am?
Yeah.
Is
this when they get to the cat? Like have you ever had a pussy cat, Richie?
Yeah, it's coming. It's in the same timeline, but we're not there yet. Because now, again, because we jump a lot in this movie, we are at a press briefing. The president is, mentioning he's talking with world leaders, and he's just doing typical presidential stuff that's not even worth writing down. And he decides to take questions. And this is probably the other scene that would definitely not fly today. He gets a question. The only question he gets is, do Martians have two sexes?
Yeah. And it's Pat.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
We're looking at the most androgynous person we've ever seen in our lives.
Do
And
Martians have two sexes like us?
exactly. So, it was, it's
I played
very
the tuba with
1996.
Ween.
Yeah, it's very 1996. It's definitely something that's not happening today. So, it was funny, kind of, but, we move on from that. That's fine. Yes. So, Joe, here is where we jump back now to Kansas. They get to the home, and here's where we meet Muffy, who Grandma referenced earlier, calling the family traitors for hiding Muffy. We meet Muffy, and she's a stuffed cat.
Yeah.
But it's obvious that Grandma doesn't know or doesn't give a shit because she's petting Muffy, and she's very happy. We get our first glimpse at her favorite recording artist, Mr. Slim Whitman, who, thank you. Yes. So, I love it. So Slim Whitman, real guy, very successful guy. He claimed back in the day that he sold 120 million records. Sales figures show about 70 million, which is still quite impressive.
So he's a little slim on his.
Yeah, all right. He's presidential about his facts.
All right. Not for long.
Exactly. We'll leave it at that. He made over 100 records, 500 songs. My introduction to Slim Whitman was he was one of the first artists to sell his stuff, basically in the precursor to infomercials. They were still regular commercials. They were maybe 30 seconds or a minute long. But he sold his records on TV with these commercials, and he made a mint doing it. And, so that was how I knew who Slim Whitman was well before, because even from my childhood, I knew the name Slim Whitman, and we all used to make fun of his singing. But
now, do you know the Slim Whitman trivia story that goes along with this? I'm assuming you do.
I should, but maybe not, so fill me in.
Okay. So on a radio broadcast, soon after the film was released on video, Howard Stern said he had finally watched it and was amazed to note similarities to his own earlier work. He stated that during the first week he was on air at WNBC in 1982, he and co-worker Fred Norris had created and aired a segment entitled Slim Whitman versus the Midget Aliens from Mars, which Stern proceeded to rebroadcast as proof. The bit depicted Whitman singing as a weapon against invading aliens, which rendered the planet a wasteland.
Holy shit.
It's the same. I want credit, said Stern. It's a weird coincidence, and it freaked me out. Years later, Stern had Tim Burton on his show as a guest, and he told Burton that he had created a bit, Slim Whitman versus the Midget Aliens from Mars in the early 1980s, to which Burton instantly responded, wow, you should have sued me.
Oh, that's great. Yep. Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. No, I did not know that. Yeah,
I
so
figured
Burton
being a Howard
admitted
Stern guy, you might have known that one.
Yeah, I know. You're right. I should have. It's possible I've heard that story in the past, but it's been so long. But, and obviously Burton basically admitted it.
Yeah, Burton's like, damn, you should have sued me.
Yeah, exactly. So that's interesting. But, yeah, so Slim Whitman, again, I knew him from my childhood, so it definitely made the joke more funny for me. At the time when I first saw it, and it's still funny because the dude marketed himself. So
for some reason, I always thought this movie had a theremin, but I guess it's just his voice sounds like a theremin.
Oh yeah, no, that's him. That was him, and that's why we used to laugh our asses off as kids when you saw those commercials because we couldn't get our heads around the fact that he was that popular.
Yeah.
But yeah, the guy sold 70 million records. That's not a bad gig, bad life for a musician. So getting back to things, we are bouncing again. We're back in Vegas, and we see Byron. He's running up Las Vegas Boulevard, north end of the strip. He's up by where the Stratosphere is, Because in the background, when he's running, you can see the Sahara, which changed hands, became the SLS, and is now the Sahara again. That's way on the north end of the strip. And a real cool piece of personal trivia. Behind him on the strip there is something called the Ram's Head Lounge. All right, that became the Little White Chapel where my wife and I renewed our vows in 2016 during our first trip to Vegas.
Cool.
So it was interesting to see because the storefront looks exactly the same, but in '96 it was a lounge and it became the Little White Chapel. So that was pretty cool to see. I did a lot of research to confirm that, and I'm pretty sure it's accurate because there's definitely no Ram's Head Lounge anymore in that part of Vegas. So that was a little throwback for me. It was cool to see. So as he's running, a limo pulls up, and it's Mr. Art Lamb, the upstanding citizen of Vegas. He knows Byron just because Byron's a boxer, and he's probably made bet money on him. I think he even references that. He says he has a
problem. Like Byron knows him also.
Yeah, I think, a guy like Art in Vegas is probably known by a lot of people. Because, again, he's on that sort of mob periphery in a really kind of cartoonish way. And he's obviously got influence because he's building a casino on the Strip. I mean, you don't just do that, Yeah. So, yeah, he probably knows him from that. And, earlier we saw...
if his limo had leather, Corinthian.
Yeah, Corinthian. I know he references that later. Corinthian, if you can get it. So he offers Byron some money to basically be an enforcer for him. And the scene, they could have done without the scene, but I understand why Burton had it. As much as, character development in a fucking farce like this is not terribly important. They just want to show that Byron is a changed man. He references the demons from his past. He used to do that. He admitted that he used to do it, and it was easy for him. But he's changed his ways, and he basically cast out those demons, and he didn't want to let them back in because he loves his wife. He wants to get back with them, and that's the only way it's going to happen. So I understand the need for the scene, but, again, in a movie like this, take it or leave it. But it happens. It's all right. So, again, we got another shot of the saucers surrounding Earth. And we find out that they, based on trajectories, I guess, are landing in the Nevada desert. So now shit's getting real. We're about to have them touch down on Earth. The whole gang convenes in the White House to talk about what they want to do. Yet again, Decker gets neutered. He wants to nuke them out of the fucking sky, and nobody's having it. Casey plays him like a fiddle. General Casey plays him like a fiddle. And right into his hands. So, the president always defaults to Casey because Casey's a very typical yes man.
He's a Colin Powell type.
Yeah, no. I love don't you fucking hate on Colin Powell, dude. All right, we'll talk about that offline.
I wasn't hating.
No, I understand. But, so Casey is, and he gives a little explanation as to his career advancement philosophy not too long from now. So we'll go into that. This is why I love Rod Steiger so much. His pent-up fury, we just got to bite his tongue. And, a lot of it is done with his back to the camera, but it's still so expressive. Where he's like, you could see him raging and then his shoulders just slump. He's like, fuck, my nuts are gone again.
Him and Arlie Ermey have an argument.
Oh, yeah, exactly. They yes, the world might end because that's like a cosmic fucking, pot stir, if you want to call it that. But yeah, so I mean, Rod Steiger is the shit. The guy's been, God, we could talk about his career forever. So Decker rants about, so this is another kind of stupid scene, but I guess they're still trying to demonstrate that Taffy's an angsty teenager. Decker goes outside the Oval Office there, and he starts ranting about peacemongers, and Taffy opens her bedroom door, which I don't know why is right next to the fucking Situation Room.
Yeah, tells him to shut up.
She's like, could you guys be quiet? I'm sleeping. It's like, oh, come on, really? Was that necessary? It's 10 seconds, but this shit adds up. We could have gotten out of the theater a little quicker if you didn't add that fucking scene.
Yeah, they got to get her on the screen some more.
I guess, again, right. He's working, he's doing what he has to work. So now we are in the Nevada desert. Here's where Casey General Casey takes a call in the Jeep from his wife, and it's funny because he's on a big ass military phone, but it rings like a cell phone.
Yeah.
It's like that shit's not happening. All right. So he picks up the phone, and he's talking to his wife. His wife, you could tell, is so proud of him. You can't hear what she's saying, but she's obviously proud of him because he's basically he's greeting the aliens. He's the first human to greet an alien, and he just says, "Didn't I tell you that if I stayed in place and never spoke up, good things would happen?" So I guess it worked for him, right? Look where he is. So it's all good. We cut to the crowds. You can see the lines of cars and the people walking. And so the gathering site is in Pahrump. It's an actual town in Nevada. And Burton did this because, do you guys know who Art Bell is?
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring this up, too. So
Yeah, okay. So Art Bell, he's been on the radio for fucking ever. He might be gone now. I think he is. But he is like one of the first conspiracy theorists to have a large format audience. He has interviewed people who claim to be, butt probed and abducted and, by aliens and fucking tree monsters and everything. He lives in Pahrump, or he lived in Pahrump. So this was Tim Burton's nod to him and the eccentricity that he brought to, the whole alien movement. So I thought that was a cool thing. It was a nice little nod to him. We see Barbara, and she is, I guess, coincidentally smart, where she's not in the crowd. She's up on a hill overlooking the entire event. She's sitting on the hood of her...
Smart's the right word, or lucky?
No, lucky, exactly. This was a stupid coincidence.
Because she's staring into a crystal.
Yeah, it's almost like a plot hole. It's almost like a convenient plot, move, just to get her up there so she lives.
She's Ex Machina.
Exactly. She's sitting cross-legged on a very expensive Mercedes, looking at a crystal and admiring the view of the crowds down where the ship is going to land, the saucer is going to land. So, we see the saucer. It's coming down. Everybody's getting excited. It lands. Natalie mentions she's on top of the broadcast truck, and she just says, "It looks like a big hubcap," because that's the level of expertise she's just
she's
capable
into
of
fashion,
offering.
and that's the
Exactly.
fashion of it. It's fashioned after a hubcap.
Exactly. So so we know we're not shocked. We know that's where we're going to get from her. I mean, it's Nat. The Martian and the other thing she mentions, which is funny, is that the door opens up and then the ramp sort of rolls out, and she goes, "Ooh, it looks like a tongue."
Yeah,
it just rolls out and sort of flops on the ground. The Martian ambassador, we come to learn, he's an ambassador. He comes gliding out of the ship. The troops, they're all running, but he's like the Martians that wear the capes, the leaders, they're like ducks, where there might be a lot going on underneath that suit, but they're gliding. They're looking very regal. So he goes gliding down that ramp, and he. I'm sorry. Because I'm like, again, it's a translation machine. It makes me fucking laugh. I don't know why. It's so stupid. But the buffoonish professor is still trying to get the translation machine working. He swears to Casey it's fine, and it is. It works. The ambassador throws a couple of acts out there, and he greets Casey. Casey greets him. It's said, "We come in peace," and it keeps repeating itself. We come in peace. We come in peace. We come in peace. So in the crowd, there's this hippie dude. He releases
in peace, man.
Yeah, he come in peace, man. He releases a dove, and it takes off and it flies directly over the Martian. And the ambassador, fucking, he lets loose. He pulls, he unstraps his blaster, and he fries this pigeon. And then, obviously, it turns into a shit show. The Martian troops start opening up. They are shooting anything that moves. So people are disappearing. The skeletons, depending on the guns that are used, they either turn red or green. And, Burton mentioned that, I think this was being released close to Christmas. So
they wanted to do it for a Christmas thing.
Yeah, so he liked the Christmas colors, so he made them green. And then... Oh, it was Beetlejuice. There were a couple of red and green skeletons as well. So he just kept that motif for his skeletons. Kate, was that?
I thought that was a really cool visual choice.
Yes,
but I was a little confused. after watching this movie is the whole issue between the aliens and the humans predicated on this misunderstanding about the dove,
No.
or not?
No, the aliens are just dickheads.
Yeah, because it kind of seemed like from the jump they were just laughing at the humans and.
Oh no, I have in my notes a little later on is that
Yeah.
the Martians have the most subversive, dark fucking humor in the universe.
Well, originally, they were going to have different ways of killing people with the ray guns, like parts where they would bisect people or cut body parts off or have holes blown through them, be melted, shredded, or
Right.
caught on fire. But apparently, like, they were trying to avoid getting an R rating, so they had
Yes.
to tone it down, and that's why it was all skeletons.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean that's always the way is keeping that rating, because it's about the bucks in the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we cut to Billy Glenn. He's ready to step up and be the hero. So he's for some reason doesn't have his rifle with him, but he blindly runs. He's running in front of other
People shooting.
troops that are shooting at the
Yeah.
Martians, and he's not getting hit. He makes it all the way up to his Jeep. He grabs that rifle that he knows how to friggin' assemble, blindfolded. He lifts it up, and the clip falls out. So it's just awful. And his first reaction is to drop the rifle, grab the American flag, and yell, "I surrender!" And he, of course, gets vaporized. The funniest thing about that is he has the biggest O face I've ever seen for
Yeah.
someone who's dying. Because his body disintegrates around the face. The face is the last thing left, and he looks like he is orgasming.
Maybe he is.
It's possible. Who knows?
And
whatever.
for some reason, the camera was like focused right on him that his parents could watch it.
Yeah, I know. No, that didn't happen. But yeah, so we see the demise of Billy Glenn. He couldn't do it. We see because the news trucks are being tossed around, like paper with all this death and destruction. So both Jason and Natalie have fallen off the tops of the trucks, and they're trying to get to each other. They're crawling, and they finally get close to each other, and their hands connect. And Natalie pulls back, and she's holding just Jason's hand because he's now a green skeleton on the ground, completely vaporized except for his hand.
That's really bummed me out, this whole scene here,
Yeah.
because what little of this movie Michael J. Fox was in, they sort of spent making you dislike the character. Like you
Yeah.
said, he's super vain and
Yep.
they're trying to steer you in the direction of her and Pierce Brosnan, the spark. So
Yeah.
you don't much care for Michael J. Fox's character, and then inexplicably they give him this like super heroic moment where he's self-sacrificing. He
Right.
leaps off of the news van. I
Yeah.
mean, it would have made more sense for him to run away, like out of fear, and leave her to die. The way
Yeah,
that
100%. Because he's been established as nothing but a self-absorbed douchebag.
Yeah.
You're 100% right. So yeah, it's an awkward moment. It really is.
I was listening to an interview with him about that scene. It was in that thing I sent you guys, that behind-the-scenes science sci-fi channel thing.
Yes. Yeah.
And he was talking about, I have great hair. He's like, whatever they did to my hair, I was running across this field at full speed, jumping. My clothes are blowing in the wind, and everything is blowing around me, but my hair stayed perfectly still.
That's great. Yep. So yeah, we say goodbye to Jason. He's out of the picture now. Natalie obviously drops the hand in horror, and Poppy picks it up right away. Poppy the dog, she grabs the hand, and that comes into play in the next scene in just a small way. It's obviously a shit show. People are dead. People are dying. Things are blown up, and then we see the aliens grab Natalie. They grab the dog, and they head up the ramp, and the saucer takes off.
Because spoiler alert, these aliens are super horny.
Oh,
yeah.
fuck yeah. Yes, they are.
The
Okay,
one alien
and-
that picks up the purse is the one I laughed at the most.
I know. And that's funny. That happens later. There's a reference to that person later in another scene, and it's great. So,
Yeah.
the aliens take off. It's a mess. We're back in the White House now. The crew's back together, and they still can't come to a consensus as to what the fuck to do. You've got a contingent swearing that this is just a misunderstanding, including the first daughter who mentions maybe they just don't like doves.
Yeah.
And, so yeah, of course, Decker, we know where Decker stands. All right. He wants to blow shit up. And they're not having it. They're just not having it. The president is still looking at this as a re-election opportunity. He needs to save the votes. They got to spin this and save the votes. So, they're arguing back and forth. Another funny part of that is, again, you got Decker's rant wanting to blow him up. They go through people saying, hey, we should have a town hall, ask the public, and things like that. And the president asks his wife, what should we do, Marcia? We should kick the crap out of him. And just Decker, he just looks at her and he just points and he's like, see? But again, chopped off at the knees. It's not happening. They're not going for it. Because President Dale, he just says, well, he did say they come in peace. So here we are, just prolonging the inevitable again, because it ain't going to work, So Kessler and the president are trying to contact the aliens. They want to extend the olive branch again and see what they can do. So this is such a funny scene because it lends that, that reference you made to them being just horny little fuckers. We cut to inside the saucer, and all of the non-lead Martians are just in their underwear. They're all in basically bikini briefs doing their work. They're all very comfortable in the briefs. So they are running around doing different things. We pan across a table where one of the aliens is trying to revive the pigeon, or the dove that the ambassador fried. That's not working. Then the next little part of the table is Jason's hand. They've got that walking around. Maybe a nod to the Addams family. Who knows?
I wonder if that's the hand they use later in the movie.
It could. Yes, it could be. It could be. And then the third station is referencing that purse that the alien picks up. They have Natalie's lipstick, and they rotate it so the lipstick pops out, and for some reason it scares the shit out of both aliens that are looking at it. But it's just funny. Their reaction is kind of funny. So the message that the president delivered comes in on an alien-style ticker tape. Again, just a 50s nod, I guess. That alien brings that message over to the ambassador, who reads it and sort of laughs a little bit. And then we see the leader, the supreme leader of the Martians. He sort of drops down from this chair that's up in the ceiling, and he's perusing a Playboy. So, he's just digging the pictures in the Playboy. And it is, the funny thing is, it's a 50s style Playboy. It is not a Playboy from the 90s. She is still clothed, and that probably had something to do with the movie rating as well. But they read the note, and of course it's very funny to them. They sort of Martian cackle at it with their akax. So we move then back to Vegas. We're in Art's mansion again. This is where he's setting up limos for the Martians. He's talking about one leather seats, Corinthian if you can get it. And Barbara's in there. She's arguing with him. She's telling him he's crazy. They're here to kill us. She comes to her senses because she's all been pro-alien until now. But she knows the Martians are coming for him now. So Art's line about it. He's like, if they land on Earth, they're going to need a place to stay, just like everybody else. Why not here? So he's in it for the money. Obviously, he's always looking for an angle. So that's fine. We quickly see that Barbara is definitely off the wagon. All right. She is pounding drinks like crazy.
Well, she sees that Southern comfort.
Yeah, exactly. And then we get to see Art remove his hat. And the hair goes with it. That blonde hair that's coming out the back of the hat. So, it's obviously a shit show underneath that hat. And honestly, that's pretty much how Jack looks in real life, so I don't think they had to do that much.
Yeah, right.
So and real quick, have you guys ever watched that sci-fi reality show Face Off, where they do the Hollywood makeup?
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the judges, V. Neal, in '96, she was the makeup artist for Jack's two characters.
Interesting.
because this was way back when she was not starting her career, but she was just one of the gang in the special effects teams back then. And yeah, she was his like makeup person for the makeup, the hair, the prosthetics, all that stuff for both characters. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, you know, Art removes that hat. It's kind of funny. We are now in an exam room where they have a body from one of the aliens, one of the Martians that didn't make it from the Vegas landing. And, you know, Kessler's looking at this thing, and he even voices his biggest concern is that there's no genitalia. What? Why that's important? Who the fuck knows? But, you know, besides him sticking his hand in the brain and coming out with the goo, that was only very curious to him. But the no genitalia concerned him. So, and of course that never comes up again as to why it's concerning, but that's all right.
Also, those outfits they're wearing are crazy. Like for like an exam, like wearing space suits for to do an exam.
I know. Yeah, but they have no like face coverings or anything. You know, it's like they're not worried about ingesting or inhaling anything from the Martians. But you know, yeah, they're suited up otherwise. We are now back in the saucer, and this is it's a cool scene. We got a Martian, of course, in his red bikini underwear. He enters sort of a trophy room, is the best way I can describe this. And when I first saw it, it almost reminded me of like the collector's room in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, like other conquests from other galaxies or planets or whatever. I don't know how. I don't think it's that deep. The more I looked at it, but the reason I thought about that is because there was a giant brain, way bigger than a human brain. There was another tank full of just big eyeballs, that were all looking. So it's kind of obvious they didn't come from Earth. So that's why I tagged it as a trophy room. It's kind of hard to nail down. There's a cow in one of them, and there is a clown in one of them. And again, at first I thought, okay, are they referencing Killer Clowns from Outer Space? But apparently that clown costume, Burton just threw in as sort of an inside joke. It's a clown that the Penguin kills in Batman Returns.
Yep, I was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
So glad you caught it.
But in there, we see Natalie, the aliens carrying Natalie's head and head only in a jar, and she opens her eyes to see the dog's head, Poppy's head, on her body.
All right, who wants to make the joke? Who wants to make it?
Is it better that way? Is that the joke?
She's a real Sarah Jessica Parker.
Oh, God.
All right. Yeah.
Ding.
Wow.
Guys, thanks for joining us.
Good night, folks. Try the meatloaf.
I've been waiting for that for like the past hour and 27 minutes.
He's there, Joe. He's just rocking in his chair. He's waiting and he's waiting.
I'm like, come on, get to the Barker. Sarah Jessica Parker.
Come on.
Oh, that's great. She sees that abomination and she screams, and then we fade to black for the next scene.
That's the point at which the movie goes full Burton.
Yes, definitely. We're back in Kansas. Toto might not think so, but yes,
we're not in Kansas anymore. Yes, we are.
No, we are in Kansas. We are attending Billy Glenn's funeral, which happens to be in the open field right next to the bus station.
And apparently there's a lot of people in that trailer park.
Yes, there are. And there were a lot of people there. And the one thing I made a note about this scene is that it is a very somber scene. There isn't a single joke in it. It's treated with respect as a military funeral from start to finish. So I would imagine that was intentional on Burton's part, maybe just to pay respect. He didn't, as irreverent as he can be, he didn't want to mess with that, that institution. So it was a straight military funeral scene with the 21 gun salute, with all of them, flinching at each shot, and then we're done with it, and then he's back to his zaniness, but he kept that very straight and serious. So I did notice that. We jump again back to DC into Louise's house now, and the boys are they're playing the home version of Flesh Eaters, and again demonstrating that they are very good at it. So we know something's coming because these boys are crack shots. Byron calls to let Luis know that he is coming home. He wants to be with her. He wants to be with the kids. He's coming back to Washington. So, we move from there into the White House. Kessler's in a little room, and he gets a transmission from the Martians that he brings to the president, and we find out, it's, quote, a formal apology. The leader wants to speak to Congress. So, we have a George Bush situation here. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on me again, or however that goes.
It's fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. Well, you can't fool me twice.
Right, exactly. Right. So, they're falling for it hook, line, and sinker. And the Martians know this because it goes back to Eric's point. Just a subversive sense of humor. They are fucking with us so bad, and it's great. I love it. That's the best plot point in this movie. And my notes about it come more frequently now with the different shit that they pull on us. So it's pretty cool. We are now at the Capitol building. There is a huge crowd gathered outside, along with Decker in his glory, standing on top of a tank. And he's ready to go at a moment's notice. He's finally getting his wish to a certain point. It's funny because there's military guarding, the fence. They don't want the crowd to rush the fence. And two of them are carrying signs. One says no applause and the other says no birds.
Yeah.
Because they're still working on that. Maybe it was the dub theory. So
The no bird sign made me laugh.
yeah. So they don't want to risk it. They don't know. So the saucer lands and the Martian contingent heads inside. This is another very realistic scene and very apt in that, Congress is assembled and all we see is a bunch of fucking old white dudes. Okay. I mean, it's very accurate. Right. Yeah, it's very accurate because if you look in the cast list, there are two characters from this scene. One is called Morose, old guy, and the other is called Incredibly Old Guy.
And they must have had a Groupon for brown suits.
Yes, exactly. So even back then, that's what Congress was, a bunch of old white guys. So I thought that struck me as very funny, especially given the current climate. Anyway, the Martian ambassador, he glides down again. He's working his feet underneath, but he's smooth on top. He glides down to the podium. And here he is, fucking with the people again. He gets up, he reaches into his cape, and everybody ducks because they think he's going to pull out a blaster. And then he smirks and he pulls out his speech on the ticker tape. So they all relax, but then 2 seconds later, he reaches back in and pulls out the blaster. And then, shit goes wild again. They just start, the troops that are with him and him, they just start indiscriminately just roasting people. They're just, they're disintegrating and vaporizing and blowing up all over the place. Glenn Close again steals my heart with her spit take. She's taking a swig of tea or coffee, and she just spits it all over the place when she sees this happen. It's very, very good. And then this could be one of my favorite lines, if not my favorite line in the whole movie, is Taffy, the first daughter. She goes, well, I guess it wasn't the dove. And she delivers it so well. And it's like, yep, yeah. It's not the dove. We're past the dove now. Okay.
I think my favorite line comes close to this point, too, when they cut back to Richie in the donut shop. And he goes, they're watching on TV. He's like, why did they do that? And the lady he works with, who you never saw before, and I don't know what she's credited as in the movie, just Hispanic woman, maybe?
Yeah, I think so, like co-worker. I think she's credited as Richie's co-worker.
And I quote, maybe they're not liking the human being.
I know.
Like, oh my God.
She's like the Slowpoke Rodriguez to his Speedy Gonzalez.
Pretty
yes,
much.
Exactly. That is a great line. That is a great one-liner zinger. I definitely enjoyed that. So Taffy drops that fucking gem, which was great. And can you tell it's getting later because I'm cursing more? You're gonna notice a trend in all these episodes. The later it gets, my mouth just gets looser and looser.
I'm glad it's your mouth.
Nah, I got the Depends on. It's all right.
Oh.
Oh,
If he starts to ask him where Muffy is.
Hey, look,
And
you
call
guys
us
got to remember,
Thomas.
man. My shame is way back in the rearview mirror, dude. It's like I can't even see it anymore.
Shame.
But anyway, I digress. So at this point, Kessler is now captured as well. I think he might have been targeted, whatever, but they definitely wanted him. So you can see them, retreating back up the ramp to the saucer, and Kessler is being carried so they can bring him back. Decker does get to cut loose with the military, but it does absolutely nothing. So again, it just goes back to the impotent, Decker. It's what he is. He's either cut down verbally, or even when he has the ability to let loose, it does nothing. And he's just this impotent rage that just builds through the whole movie with him. And again, Rod Steiger does a great job with that. This is also one of my favorite lines. We cut back to Kansas, and the old folks' home is watching it on the news. And
yes.
Grandma just looks, and she goes, "They blew up Congress."
It's such a great line.
Fucking laughing. It is so great. I just love the way she does that. We cut back to Barbara, who is like fully inebriated. Okay, she's neck deep in the sauce now. There is no coming back, and the saucer takes off. So now, again, as I said, shit's getting real. We're in the war room in D.C., and it's definitely, again, modeled after that 50s version of the war room. I doubt it looked like that in the 50s, and it certainly doesn't look like that today in real life, but that was people's view of it. So it's a 50s style, war room that we're looking at there. Saucers laid out on a map, and the generals and other people are sitting in the chairs.
Now, don't jump on me again, but I heard this was also another Doctor Strangelove thing.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. In this case, you're 100% right. That's the way it looked in that movie. You're absolutely right. So I would not be surprised if it was an homage by Burton to that movie. So yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. The president walks in, and Decker is hyped up because he's got to get let loose. This has got to be it. We can't go any other direction in his mind than to nuke the shit out of these guys. All right. The president even looks at him and says, "I owe you an apology." And Decker, like a giddy kid, he's laughing. He goes, "We all make mistakes, Mr. President."
Here you go, Silas.
He's like, "Yeah, exactly." And then, the president's like, "Not anymore," which further, reinforces that Decker's got it made now, Yeah, so he plops that clipboard down with the authorization to unleash our nuclear capabilities. He just gets immediately shot down. Like the president just shoots him down. He says, "We're not going to start a war." and Decker's like, "We're already at war." But, he's just not listening. And this is like another great moment in the movie. It's one that, you'll find a video clip of just this little snippet on YouTube in a ton of different ways. And, because Decker loses it, we have to strike now, annihilate, kill, kill, kill. And, the president he tells him to shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. He's slamming his fists on the table. And Decker just turns around again like that little kid has been told he can't have candy. Yep. And he just sort of shuffles off, totally defeated. It's awful. It's sad to see. And even from the back, again, Rod Steiger's doing a great job because he's just walking away. We don't see him, but we know he's completely defeated. And this is here. So we're starting to find a rhythm here. It only took an hour and so into the movie. So again, Eric, I understand what you're talking about. Where another one of the best lines in the movie, definitely one of Jack's best lines, is the American people still have 2 out of 3 branches of the government working for them, and that ain't bad.
That ain't bad.
So, it's definitely it's a cool one-liner. It's definitely one of Jack's best lines. I absolutely love it.
And this was the only movie he's ever been the president in.
Yeah. He's about as far from presidential as... Well, you know what? He could play Clinton.
No.
If not for the look, he could certainly play Clinton for the lifestyle.
I'll say the word presidential kind of went out the window.
Oh, no. I agree. No, anything's on the table now. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me? Anything's on the table. Yeah, so now the president decides to address the country again. It's kind of a blah 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 sort of speech. There's really nothing he says in there. While the president's talking, Barbara is packing. Like, she's taking everything, including the Buddha. Okay, she's trying to fit this big, gigantic Buddha statue in her suitcase because she feels that's important. But she is ready to get out of town. Okay, and then he closes it because at this point he is completely beside himself. He's lost. He's lost his own power. Like, he is completely just confused as to what to do. So his final line in this speech is, "We will still come out at a very real outcome." And then he gives this like grin, this sheepish grin, and he's, "Thank you." And then that's the end of the speech, And then it cuts to the saucer, and then all the Martians are hovered around like a tube that watches TV for them. And they're all laughing, and they're doing the chicken. They're putting their arms under their armpits, and they're flapping their arms like chickens because they think the president is just a joke. And again, it goes to that subversive sense of humor, because they know they're just fucking with him, and it's great. So yeah, we see more of the sadistic side of the Martians. Kessler is basically disassembled. His head's hanging there. The rest, his torso is there. It's still working, but it's off to its side, and his arms and legs are there. They're all working, but he's completely disassembled. So things aren't looking good for Donald at this point. Natalie walks up. Natalie head on Poppy body. She walks up to the head, and they start, professing their like, if not love, for each other. Kessler talks about how he's had a schoolboy crush on her for a while since she's been on TV, and she just loves every second of that. The little dog's tail is wagging like crazy because she's very excited about that. They were meant to be together, even though it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I like how his body is like spread out across a bunch of different things. There's like tubes running in between,
and it's all functioning. Yeah,
yeah, but like it's been like deconstructed.
Yes, yeah, exactly. No, it was a cool moment. It was definitely a cool moment, CGI wise and just creatively. I thought it was a pretty cool moment. So we're back in DC now. It's night. The Washington Monument's in the background, and a bus pulls up, and the only passenger that comes out is a very tall, quote, beautiful woman. Who is model, Lisa Marie. She's a model. She was engaged to Tim Burton, I think I mentioned this earlier, from 93 to 2001. And Helena Bonham Carter, screwed that up. No, that's not fair. Tim Burton screwed that up because he's a shit for doing what he did. That's as far as I've read anyway. But yeah, she comes out, and she's the Martian's best, human-like disguise. And coincidentally, this is definitely some plot bullshit. Jerry's on the prowl again in the presidential limo, but he just happens to pull up right after she gets out of the bus in the middle of the night in Washington, D.C. This is the point I referenced earlier when Kessler talks about telepathic ability. This is the only scene I could see where it works, where they knew that this would be their into the White House, and they influenced Jerry somehow. But it's not referenced, so I don't even know if it goes that deep. I think I might be looking deeper than even Tim Burton was looking at.
Yeah, you're giving them a little too much credit here.
No, exactly. I'm trying to keep my suspense of disbelief, I think, Eric.
What I would have loved is if somewhere during this scene of this section of scenes, if he would have pulled out a condom and said, "Chewing gum?"
Yeah. Exactly. That could have worked. But yeah, I mean, that's a good point. So yes, she is chewing gum. She doesn't say a word. She's chewing gum, and she's chewing gum with her mouth closed. And that's explained later, a little bit later in the movie. She glides around like the ambassador and the leader in their capes. Her arms move in a very funny fashion. I read that to keep that suit as sleek and smooth as possible, there were no zippers or buttons. She had to be sewn into that every day.
So, yeah, I was listening, and once again back to that thing I sent you guys from the Sci-Fi Channel. She was complaining about it also that like the wig was actually two separate things on top, and it put a hole in her head and left a scar.
Holy shit! I don't doubt it. The thing was massive. I do not doubt it.
And she couldn't go to the bathroom when she was in that, so she had like, that whole outfit. Like, there's nothing she could do. Like, she was.
Right.
She said it was miserable.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, as I said, Jerry's on the prowl. He's doing his thing. He is the skeeviest dude that we've seen. He's instantly turned on by her just because he's a horn dog. I mean, he is just, I can't say enough how foul he is and how skeevy he is. So he wants to bring her back to the White House. He wants to, because that usually works, with the women he's out there picking up. His access to the White House is certainly a point that will lure them in his eyes anyway. So he gets the female Martian into the limo, and they go to the White House. Mitch, the Secret Service guy, he lets them in the back door. And, he kind of just fixes his tie and rolls his eyes because it's something he does all the time for Jerry. Well,
he does make a comment. He's like, we're just being real careful for what happened at Congress.
Right, exactly. But it doesn't, it doesn't stop him from letting them in.
And what I don't understand is, with the amount of tours that go through the White House, why does she need a tour from him?
Yeah, exactly. So, they get in. And Jerry brings her down the hall and stops at a statue of John F. Kennedy. And he lifts the head up, and it's sort of like in the Batcave in the old Batman series. He presses the buttons, and the wall opens up. And he goes, I want to show you the Kennedy room. and just to bring it up, she's wearing a ring that has an eyeball on it. And that is the visual device for the Martian leaders. Up in the saucer, they can see everything that eyeball sees. So they enter the Kennedy room, and it's like right out of the Playboy Mansion. So it is just a smarmy room where the sex happens, and obviously that is a sort of a throwback to the rumors that were and are out there about President Kennedy and his dalliances. So who knows?
That might have been the Monroe bed.
Yeah, exactly. So, so he gets her in there, and he starts his Borat sexy time stuff, and he basically jumps her. He mixes the drinks. He gets the drinks first, but he basically jumps her, and he puts his finger near her mouth or in her mouth, and he pulls, and of course the side of her face comes up, and then she bites down and bites his finger off. She spits it right into the fish tank, and I got a problem with this fish tank because there are a lot of expensive fish in there, and there is nothing else. There are no decorations at the bottom. There's no sand in the bottom. There's no coral. It's a fucking tank of water with these fish in it.
Also, why would you put something that's going to require that much maintenance in a room that barely gets used?
Yeah, exactly. It was an odd thing. And it's not even like the finger in the water and the fish nibbling was a funny enough bit that you couldn't do without it.
Yeah.
It was just
if
odd.
That was a giant lava lamp or something.
Yeah. You spent $70 million on this movie, and you couldn't, if you're going to have the fish tank, have a properly decorated fish tank. It was a weird placement.
And it wasn't
around.
even like they were getting the product placement by using the TV show Tanked and having this as an episode of Animal
Exactly. So yeah, it was odd.
You ever watch that show, by the way?
I watch it sometimes. Those guys are pretty entertaining, and it's a Vegas show, so it gets it. It gets me just on that level.
The fat guy's like, "Yo, today we're building a tank for Shaq. He's gonna love it."
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the show is the same every time. They get the specs, they start to build, somebody fucks something up, they got to fix it, then they finally get it right at the last minute.
Yep. Can you believe he mixed up the pH balance in this water? The fish are going to die. What are we going to do?
It's like they work with a bunch of idiots who never did this before. Every episode.
And then they always try to set up practical jokes to trick each other around the shop.
Yeah. It's one of the worst staged reality shows out there.
Yeah,
to
I mean,
me,
it's
anyway.
so obviously fake.
Yeah, because they're not good at they're not good at the acting part. But
yeah,
so our Martian girl is on a mission now. Right, she is hustling down the hallway looking for the presidential bedroom. She's got a mission to fulfill, and she wants to get it done. So she finds the room. She enters the room. We see that ring. The eyeball's looking around. The Martian leaders are very happy. They're close to achieving their goal of getting rid of the president. She pulls off the mask, so we see she's a Martian. We knew it, but she's the hair is gone, the mask is gone. She's a Martian. still has that outfit on, and the dog wakes up and starts barking, and that poor dog gets vaporized like instantly. You know,
That
It's
was
like,
actually one of the cards they said of the
Oh, yeah?
original cards. That was one of the
Okay.
most popular. One of the cards was the dog getting shot.
ah,
But it wasn't a president. And like the card, it was like a little kid,
okay,
like crying as the Martian shot its dog.
yeah. I mean, it's pretty sad. Whatever, but you know, you never want to see a dog get hurt or an animal get hurt. So the dog is gone, vaporized. I don't even think there was a skeleton. I think he was just like dust. But we see a president who's a president of action, actually, both the president and the first lady. The first lady ducks like behind the bed, but she immediately grabs a shoe and wings it at the Martian and hits her in the head. And the president just tackles her. Like there's not even a question. He doesn't cower or anything, man. He's in there. And he knocks her down, but she gets the upper hand because she's got her blaster. She puts it to his head. They sort of back off into another room, and they're surrounded by the Secret Service. And again, the president is quick thinking. He ducks, and the Secret Service open up because she's not wearing a helmet, and that's it. She's gone. So that threat is neutralized. When I saw Nicholson covered in the green, I just thought he slimed me.
Yeah.
That's all I thought. So, he's covered in slime. The first lady's grossed out by it, but, you know, she's happy her husband's okay. And the Martian leaders are obviously pissed off. The leader just shoves one of the subordinates and sends him across the room. So, you know, because that plan didn't go well. That sends us to now what we're building up as the climax to the movie. Finally, we're going to have an all-out war here. We're back up in the saucer. The Martians are preparing for war. They're on the sort of a suiting up conveyor belt that gets them in their battle gear and gives them their weapons. You know, we even see a big robot. You know, a Martian-controlled robot with big claws that's going to help take over the Earth. And Kessler and Natalie are there. They're seeing all this, and they're, you know, if they could shit themselves, they would have, but they don't have assholes anymore, so it's just heads. And then we see the saucers just all descending on DC. We cut to a quick scene in that science lab where the, you know, second in command scientist determines that gum that the Lady Martian was chewing is pure nitrous, NO2. I guess that's nitrous. Nitrogen
oxide.
Nitrogen, yeah. So that's how she was breathing without a helmet, and that's why she was chewing the gum with her mouth closed, because, you know, she just had to inhale, and that's why she put a second stick of gum when the first one fell out. So yeah, I mean, it's sort of a little throwaway scene. It doesn't really affect us going forward, but now we know why she was chewing that gum. So DC is getting its ass kicked now. The saucers are flying around. This is a very subversive humor, funny, dark humor. A saucer comes up to the Washington Monument. Well, first a group of Boy Scouts are, you know, in the midst of this battle.
Yeah.
They decide it's the perfect time to go check out the Washington Monument. And the saucer pops up and it blasts the monument and it starts to tip. And the saucer catches it and then tosses it the other way and goes around the other side. So sort of kind of playing Pong with itself. And then it flips it and fucking flattens all the Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
It's off screen, but those Boy Scouts are toast. They're all
And
gone.
if I'm to believe every single thing I've seen on Facebook lately, that's not the worst thing that happened to the Boy Scouts that day.
Too real.
You know, recently...
That's like the new thing. Is like every time I go on Facebook, it's like, "Were you a Boy Scout?"
Well,
You
exactly.
have to-
It's funny. I was just going to say that. The ads on Facebook, it's like they suddenly thought that, you know, this was pertinent to me.
Yeah.
And no matter how many times I would click hide ad and hide this forever, another one from another fucking law firm would pop up.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, the Boy Scouts got flattened. I kind of chuckled at it. I really did. I thought it was funny. We're back in the White House. The Martians are in the White House now. So they are starting to evacuate. And I forgot to reference this when Byron calls home earlier to say he's coming home. He talks to Ray J, and Ray J says, "Yeah, we're going to see the president tomorrow." So, you know, they're on a tour. They, of course, happen to be in the White House right when the tour, you know, when the invasion's happening. They're on this tour. So they're there, and they're getting a lesson from, you know, from the tour guide. The older boy looks and goes, "What's that?" And she turns around. "Oh, that's a portrait of President Monroe." And he goes, no, that. And then she gets vaporized. Right?
Yeah.
So she's gone. The boys are two of the biggest heroes in this movie.
Yeah.
All right?
Get that president out of here.
Exactly. They kick ass from start to finish. All that Flesh Eaters training pays off. When everybody else is running around like chickens without heads and they're in that room there, they see those Martian blasters and they are on them. They're hiding behind a Martian body and they're taking out other Martians left and right. So then, they're trying to evacuate the president, first lady, and the first daughter. They come around a corner into a larger room. The first lady sort of slows down because she's shocked by all this, and that's, again, where the chandelier, she references something specific about that chandelier. I don't know what she said. But it gets blasted. It turns, I think, green, maybe red. I don't remember. And it crushes her. So, first lady's gone. Bye-bye, Glenn Close. I loved you. You were great in this movie.
Well, at least you got the chandelier down that she wanted to get down.
That's true. She probably said, hey, I hate this chandelier. It kills me.
That's true. But yeah, so, seeing the first lady die puts everybody, including the Secret Service agents, basically in a panic. But the boys come, and Joe referenced that line, get that president out of here.
Yeah,
and,
like, corniest like shit I've ever heard.
They lay down cover fire, and they get out. It's fantastic. I just love that they're the heroes, They are like the A-team. So...
Bam, 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 bam. Bum, bum, bum.
Exactly. So now we're back in Vegas.
So
Vegas
which members of the A-team are they? Come on, Doug. You said it.
No, I was never a big A-team fan, believe it or not.
They're like, I don't like that milk.
All right, now. Here we go.
No, I mean, he wouldn't drink milk because he knew that every time they gave him milk, it would make him pass out and then he'd end up in a plane.
Right. Exactly. He wasn't stupid. So we're back in Vegas. Vegas is getting decimated. But apparently Art, Mr. Land, he doesn't give a shit. He's got an investor meeting going on the top floor of the Galaxy Hotel. He's got investors from all over the world. He's got sheiks in there.
Stereotypical group of investors.
Yeah, it was kind of stereotypical. Yeah. But they're all there. And, from the way it's set up, Art's got his back to the window, so he doesn't see anything that's going on. But they all see it. And they're trying to get his attention. But, Art's on a roll, and he doesn't give a fuck what people think. Or trying to tell him, he's got to let it out, His hat's off, and he's got a different hairpiece on. It's gray. It's still a mess, but it's a different hairpiece. And, he's just talking. He's blustering on to the investors, and, they could see everything outside. One of his last lines are, "There's no way we can lose." He's trying to convince him to invest. And then he turns around to see the carnage, and he does just another jack, an understated, "Whoa!" It's just so great, It's like yikes, but no, whoa! And he turns around again, and a giant globe statue that's in the thing tumbles as the building is shook, and it basically flattens him. It just squishes him. That's where they used the demolition of the Landmark Hotel footage. To show the destruction of the Galaxy Hotel. And it's funny. It's not funny, but as the hotel is falling, it's almost down. That globe rolls out of the window. You don't really see Art. The globe itself rolls out of the window and crashes to the ground from the distance. Yes. You don't really see it. So, and then we come to my favorite. I love this man. I love the way he sings. I love the way he performs. Mr. Tom Jones pops up on screen. It's not unusual to be loved by anyone. I love that dude. Okay. So he's just doing his thing, man. He's doing the Tom Jones thing. He's got the audience grooving. He's singing. Everything's great. Death and destruction outside, but Tom Jones is on stage. You do not fuck with him. Okay. And that's the way it works in real life and in this movie. Okay. Yep. So we cut to Byron calling home because he's frantic. Things are going crazy. We see that the boys have made it home, which is great because they are indestructible. And we love them for it.
They take after their dad.
Exactly. We love them for it. They are a champion boxers' kids, and they know how to survive. So I think it's a great thing. Yep. So as he's talking to Louise, the line gets cut because all hell's breaking loose. we see Byron. He's running through the casino. He bumps into Barbara. They know each other too. And they hatch a plan to fly out because originally Art and Barbara had their plane loaded and ready to go. They're going to go to the caves by Lake Tahoe to ride it out. It's kind of funny because she's trying to explain to Byron what's going on. She says, we just need a pilot. And he's like, what about Art? Oh, he's dead.
Yeah.
He's very casually. Oh, he's dead. You know,
Oh, he's dead.
yeah. So they got to find a pilot. Where are they going to get a pilot? All right.
Bum, bum, bum.
There you go.
Bum, bum.
So Tom Jones comes out. Well, no, actually, sorry, we're back on stage, and he's still singing, and part of the stage lights go completely black around his backup singers, who are, by the way, his real life backup singers. So
Yeah.
like that whole band was his band, from whenever he's in Vegas, or they probably tour with him and travel with him. That was his band. So his backup singers, you can't see them. The lights come back up, and it's three Martians. They're dancing to the song, and they're doing it, and they're ack-acking instead of singing. But, in the theater, all hell breaks loose. It's funny because a lot of the times during the different attack scenes, the attacks by the Martians are very random and indiscriminate. Basically, they're hosing everybody down.
Yeah.
But for some reason in this scene, there was one Martian, man. He's locked on Tom. He's locked on TJ, and he wants him dead. So Tom Jones goes aside, exit stage left, and the Martian is chasing him. And he's dodging blaster shots, and he gets out. He gets out onto the casino floor, and he runs right into Byron and Barbara. And, again, they hatch that plan. So not soon after they get together, the Martian finds him. And Byron steps up and does his work. He becomes the boxer. He one punches the Martian, and obviously cracks open the helmet, bashes his brain, and that Martian's dead. So, and this is why I love Tom Jones so much. He's a bad actor, but after the punch, he walks up behind Byron and he goes, "Wow, hell of a punch! I'm Tom Jones, by the way."
This movie is like
It's
a
so fun.
fever dream.
Exactly. It's so fucking campy and beautiful. Oh, I'm Tom Jones, by the way. So Barbara states she needs a drink. And Danny DeVito came running up earlier, and he sees Byron. He goes, "Oh, you're Byron Williams. I love you. I saw you do this boxing, whatever." Just being the obnoxious, rude gambler that he is. So when they get to that point, Barbara says, "I need a drink. You and me both, baby." That's Danny at his best. He's great.
That's not him at his best, but that's him.
Oh, no.
I mean,
yes, within that character, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, because he gets a lot better in a
Yeah.
certain show.
Oh, no, of course. No, there's no comparison.
Like,
But,
that's why I thought he could have played the Art Land character because of his time as Frank.
Oh,
when Frank gets
definitely.
real rich and Frank gets the Lamborghini
Yes.
and the billboard with him
Absolutely.
between the two pairs of giant knockers.
Yep. And again, Joe, I'll repeat myself. I've never seen the show, but I know exactly what you're talking about because of my sons. I know all about that show by osmosis. Like, I know every fucking scene.
It's still the best show ever. Perfect
yeah.
5.
So just randomly, they ask Tom Jones if he knows how to fly a plane, and he answers, "Yeah, sure, got one."
Yeah.
It's just so great. It's so stupid. It's so fucking dumb. But yeah, sure, got one. The scene fades as Las Vegas it's getting its ass kicked. I mean, the Martians are just decimating the place. We're back in Kansas. We watched Donut World. What's that?
Did it show the scene where the Martians are walking down the street with the machine saying, "We want to be your friends"?
Oh, yeah. That happens in the carnage. We want to be your friends. Don't run. Don't run. We want to be your friends.
I love that because they're just like
I know.
trolling everybody with the
Again,
machine.
it's all part. You're right. That's what it is. It's one big troll. Okay,
Yeah.
and it's beautiful. We see the beautiful donut world get destroyed. One of the things about this is who knew that a fucking small town in Kansas would be such a strategic point to attack in the United States.
You gotta get them all.
They are hitting it. They are hitting it full force, man. The donut world is gone now. All right.
The only place they are not attacking is the caves outside of Tahoe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Although there's a shit ton of them in the lake.
Right. Yeah. After the fact. Yes, that's true. That's true.
I love the montage of them destroying all these important, like, historical
Yeah.
landmarks.
Yes.
And then
Yep.
the donut world.
The Eiffel
Yes.
Tower bends over. The Taj Mahal blows up.
Exactly. All of it. All of it. So yeah. So Donut World's gone. Richie heads to the trailer to let mom and dad know that he needs to get grandma, and they don't have a single fuck to give about grandma.
Yeah.
That's where the line comes in. Grandma, she's halfway to outer space already, says dad. It's like,
They're not getting the TV.
Yeah, exactly. They're not getting the TV. So just making sure. Yep. Wow. Joe, I gotta say, retyping the notes in the computer and printing it out is so much better than trying to follow the scribbled handwriting from the original round.
It is. Yeah, I did the same thing
and,
this time.
And they have this thing in Word where you can number the pages too,
No,
and that really, really helps.
just
Anyway.
in case you get it mixed up.
Yeah, exactly. So at least I know I'm in the right place. So we are now back in the war room, and oddly, the president's by himself. There isn't what?
Are we back there yet, or did we miss the scene with the trailer park, or is that next?
No, that's next. They cut to the war
Okay.
room first.
I don't
Yeah,
want
they
to
cut
miss
the
that
wa-
scene.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I know. They cut to the war room, and the president again. It's odd. He's oddly by himself. All right. There's a flurry of activity normally, but he's the only one in the room now. He gets paged that the French president is calling him. So he picks up the phone, and we cut to a room in Paris. You can see the Eiffel Tower in the background. And the French president tells him that he has good news. The Martian ambassador is here. So, now they're trolling the French too. It's great.
Yep.
It obviously didn't go well. So, the President Dale hears, death and destruction on the other end of the line. We watch the Eiffel Tower melt into a heap of metal.
Yeah, kind of like
And-
bends over, goes limp.
Yeah, exactly. And then the president just whispers, "Mon Dieu," which is my God. He hangs up the phone. We now just go to a quick cut of Vegas where there's more destruction. We see the group trying to make its way to the airfield. I think that might have been when you saw the scene where, we want to be your
We
friends.
wanna be your
right?
friends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So we're instantly back in the war room, and now it's like completely full, and people are running around and trying to do things. It's all a lot of activity and whatever. I guess the president needed a moment alone, so they let him go. But the president is just basically he's beside himself. He's got nothing left. He's just crumpled down on the table. Decker walks over to him and asks, "Can you sign this, sir?" He goes, "What, my last will and testament?"
Yeah.
That's like a Henny Youngman one-liner. It's so fucking great. No, the approval to deploy our nuclear capabilities. And the president, he just signs it. So, again, Decker, once again, is in his fucking glory. All right, he's probably got a big fat chubby. He can't wait to press the button. They cut to the nukes. You see the nukes coming out of the bunkers. They're flying up there. And then this is the scene that definitely frames the Martian sense of humor.
Yeah.
They send out this what looks like a fucking vacuum, an old school vacuum. The nuke blows up and it sucks in all the fumes and all the radiation from it. And they bring it back in the saucer. And the Martian leader, he fucking inhales it like he's at a party.
Yeah, like it's a
Starts-
helium balloon.
He starts acting like he's got helium.
Like super high pitch acting.
I know. And they are laughing their asses off because Decker and the president are watching this happen going, holy fuck.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they are trolling him so bad. It's so great.
I love how they laugh so much about everything.
Yes. It's all a fucking big game to them. This
Yeah.
is just fun, And then here's where we get that mini montage of everything being destroyed. So, we see London, Big Ben gets wrecked. Mount Rushmore gets recarved, which is great. That also, basically it predicts the future where a certain, quote, president wanted to put his face on Mount Rushmore. And then then we get the Taj Mahal. And the great thing about that scene is there's 3 Martians, 4 Martians trying to take a photo op, and you
Yeah.
think they're standing in front of the Taj Mahal to take a picture, but they wait till it gets blown up so they can take the picture then. So it's pretty cool. Then we cut to a quick scene where the Martians are bowling on Easter Island.
Yep.
And
I love that one.
so they roll the bowling ball. They knock down the Easter Island statues, and it's interesting because they cut to a quick crowd scene of sort of the Easter Islanders watching this happen, and a very young. Do you know who Cliff Curtis is?
Yes.
All right, he's in that scene. I think he's holding a child, but he watches the destruction of the statues. I mean, Cliff Curtis is one of my favorite actors. It goes back to this Australian movie called Once Were Warriors. It's one of the most depressing movies ever made, but it's a movie about the Maori warriors and just basically their oppression and shit. You know, they were not treated very nicely, and that's putting it extremely mildly. But anyway, he was in that, and that's even before this movie. And then just all of his roles, because he's like an everyman. He plays so many different nationalities because he has that blended look, and he's a great actor. So it was cool to see him and recognize him without knowing he was in it. And he's not even credited. He's not even listed as uncredited, but it's definitely him. There is no question it's him. All right. So again, we got more generalized destruction, but we flash to the saucer where the Martians are watching television. They're watching a Godzilla movie, and then they switch over to Dukes of Hazzard. So they're doing that. So they're digging Earth TV. You know.
Yeah.
All right. We're in the home stretch here, guys. We're back in Kansas. And we learned that that Billy Glenn's girlfriend Sharona didn't miss Billy Glenn for very long. Right?
Nope, she's
in the trailer and it's rocking.
And they're not knocking. They're just
they're past knocking. They're leering like dirty old men. The two Martians.
Yeah, you would know.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yep. Woohoo.
Or if Brooke Shields was in there.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'd peek. But yeah, I just noted, voyeur Martian creepers, because that's what they're doing. They're looking
Pretty
in
much,
there.
yeah.
But we are in full destroy the trailer park mode at this point.
Yep, the
robot's there again. Why deploy the big robot to a small town? But it doesn't matter at this point. We're on a roll. All right, we're moving
because that's all the card was.
Exactly. We're moving at hyperspeed. All right. So the robot is there. It is wrecking these trailers. It grabs. Before that happens, Richie's out the door and he's in the truck because he's got to go get Grandma. All right, and it just shows his devotion to his grandmother. That's what's important to him because he knows his parents don't give a shit about him. So he's going to rescue Grandma. The robot picks up Mom and Dad's trailer. They start getting tossed around. It grabs another trailer and they are, involuntary bumper car participants.
Yeah.
So we say adios to Mom and Dad at this point. They're toast. Richie's truck gets the attention of the robot. So rather than continuing to destroy the trailer park, it laser focuses on Richie in the truck and starts chasing him. And we get a quick shot of the Martian in there working the levers to make the thing run. It almost catches up to him. It's like right there. It's ready to pounce on him. But it gets tangled up right before the old folks' home. It gets tangled up in the electrical wires.
Yep.
So we cut back to Vegas because we've got to find out where the Vegas crew is. It's funny because they're now in the Neon Boneyard. It was called the Boneyard at the time, and now it's a museum. You can go on tours. It's a really cool place. But it's up by Fremont Street, so it's in North Vegas. It would have taken hours to walk from where they were on the strip up to that place. Okay, so they definitely did some time jumping, but they're in the maze that is the Neon Boneyard. They're running around, and Rude Gambler, Danny DeVito, he's getting pissed off. He yells at Byron, just because you're dressed like King Tut doesn't make you our leader. For whatever reason, it's he just doesn't like being bossed around because he's Rude Gambler. So he runs off in a different direction. He gets stuck in the maze and rounds a corner, and there's a Martian standing right there at him. So it turns out he's a lawyer, so he's going to negotiate his way out of this. He offers him the Rolex, and the Rolex seemed to piss off that Martian more than the Dove, because as soon as he said Rolex, Danny got it, and he was vaporized, and it was great because when he vaporized, the cloud above him was an actual mushroom cloud. Because he's just so angry.
Yeah.
It just turned into an actual mushroom cloud. You see, just vaporize up into the air. So it was pretty cool. Right after that happens, Barbara comes around the corner too. She's got a blaster now, and she hits the Martian and makes him disappear. And then Tom Jones again comes out. Nice shot. It's fucking great. I love Tom Jones. Did I mention that?
No.
Yeah. So, all right. We are once again back in Kansas. The robot gets tangled up in the power lines, which allows Richie to get out of his truck and get into the old folks' home. And there is a full-on assault because we got to get rid of those old folks, all right? Because they're the key to it all. If we don't get rid of them, they're going to come back and stomp us. The Martians must think. So they are, the Martians are walking through the hall. They blow a hole through Grandma's wall. She's oblivious to this fact because she's got her headphones on and she's listening to Slim. So things are good in her life. They wheel this absurdly large laser in behind her. And again, I think it goes back to that sense of
Being
humor
a
that they have.
dickhead, yeah.
Yeah, they just want to be a dick.
They're
We're
like,
going to do this.
"Shh,
We're going to
be
do it all the
quiet."
way. Exactly, right. They're tiptoeing in. They're lining up this large laser, and it's like a practical joke to them.
Yep.
Just as they're ready to light it up, Richie comes around the corner, and that distracts Grandma enough to where she realizes something's going on. And as she turns around to look, she yanks out the headphone cord, and heads begin to yeah. Thank you.
Had
Yep.
to do it for you.
Exactly. Brains begin to vibrate. The Martians clutch their heads, and we start popping. The heads are popping like crazy. Okay. Grandma delivers another great line. She looks at Richie and she goes, "Richie, I think these guys are very sick."
Yeah.
So Grandma's had enough with them.
That is a great line.
Yeah, it's just the way she delivers it. It was so good. Back in the war room, the war room is under siege. So the Martians blow a hole in the door, and they roll in this small green orb. So we're expecting a hand grenade or something.
Yeah, like a bomb.
It rolls in, it stops. Then the Martian leader hops through the hole. His troops come behind him. He walks over to the globe and picks it up and shakes it, and it's a fucking Martian snow globe.
Yeah,
and again, he
basically.
just laughs. He tosses it in the corner. He just laughs because it's another practical joke that he pulled off. Against the hapless humans. It's fucking great. And then we get the speech from Decker where he just goes off. It's
Which is
so good.
basically ripped off of a Winston Churchill speech.
Oh yeah, especially the last part when he's being shrunk. That's all Churchill.
Yeah.
But yeah, you think you can do anything you want? Well, you can't, because we are human beings, and we have the U.S. Army that'll fight you to the last man, and we'll never surrender. And he's got 2 45s in his hand, and he's just wailing away with these things. And again, it's all just impotent power. Nothing happens to them. They're basically chuckling.
Yeah, and as he does that, they're shrinking him.
Yeah, they're shrinking him. Never surrender! Never surrender! And his voice keeps getting higher, and then the Martian leader just...
the last man.
Exactly. The Martian leader just steps on him like a bug. So Decker's gone, and it's sad because I loved him. And then, the president just almost under his breath, he's like, "No," The troops in the room, Mitch, the Secret Service guy, they're all opening up. Obviously, nothing's helping. Mitch buys it. The president's on a rolling chair. He's like dodging the laser shots, and Mitch takes the last one for him. He gets vaporized, and then the shooting stops because it's only the president left. And then he goes into his speech. And you hear this inspiring music start to play in the background. And it's basically, he talks about we can work together, we can do this, we can either build it up or smash it together. And, I love when he talks about, and he holds his fingers like really tiny fingers.
Tiny,
for
yeah.
Mars. He starts with
and
us. He goes,
Earth.
us, and he's got a fist, and you and his tiny fingers. And it ends with, why can't we all just get along?
We all just get along.
Yeah, exactly.
Which apparently they took that from the Rodney King.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%.
Yeah.
But I love how he goes, "Little people, why can't we all just get along?" The Martian leader actually wells up a little bit. You see a tear forming in his eyes, but it's crocodile tears. He doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, no.
He extends his hand for a handshake, which the Martians don't do, but he does it. And then, of course, President Dale grabs the hand comes loose. It's basically
Climbs all around him, tickling
right,
him.
a mechanical hand. It goes around his body, his back, and then impales him. Just goes right through his heart from back to front. He plops down on the floor, that spear or whatever you want to call it, sticking straight up, and then the Martian flag unfurls. And then we see the symbol that the Martians have been doing. First it's a point for the eye, and then it's a circle, and that's the Martian symbol. So, I just noted here, good night, sweet prince, because President's gone. And, we're at the climax now, definitely. We're back in Kansas. Richie and Grandma are in the truck. They've got a sound system in the truck. They're blaring Slim, and heads are popping everywhere. Yes, please. Heads are popping everywhere. I mean, they're just, they're doing their job left and right. We, of course, then jump back to Vegas to see how that group is doing. They make it to the airfield, and there's no airfield near the Boneyard, so it's bullshit, too. They find the plane. Wait a minute. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, right. So, actually, that's a quick cut, because they're at the airfield. They found the plane. It's off in the distance in a hangar, all right?
Yeah.
We're once again back in Kansas. Richie and Grandma are now at the radio station, 50,000 watts strong, and they're broadcasting Slim, and it's obviously covering a wide swath of land across America, and they are wrecking Martians. They're absolutely wrecking them. So it's the tide is turning. All right. We're back in Vegas. We're at the airfield. So Barbara and Tom Jones are in the plane. They're doing pre-flight, and suddenly Tom Jones might not know how to fly.
Yeah.
Because she's like, you think you can fly this? He goes, yeah, I'm pretty sure. And they're flipping levers and shit. Byron and Cindy, they run over to the hangar doors to open up the doors, and that's when they see a full squadron of Martians right on in front of the hangar, out on the tarmac. It looks like the leader, I think it might be, but he was just in Washington, so just whatever. It's just another leader, Martian, and troops. Byron tells Cindy to get in the plane. He's going to distract them so they can take off. So we watch Byron march out, and he pulls off his armor, and he just lets them know who the fuck he is. All right, he's Byron Williams, the heavyweight champ of the world. He squares up with the leader, and he knocks the shit out of him. It wasn't even a contest. He beats the snot out of the guy, pops the helmet, he's dead. They get the plane going, so they're taxiing out of the hangar. And then they take off, and as they're taking off, they look down and they see all of the Martians jumping on Byron, and he's trying his best and he's knocking them out. But as they're taking off towards Tahoe, Byron's on the ground. He's unconscious. He's surrounded by Martians. That's the last we're going to see of him. We think. Yep. So he's gone. We flash back to Byron's kids, and they are keeping it up. They are keeping the pressure up. They got some shopping carts with a sound system, and they are popping Martian heads left and right. Slim is playing, and they are cleaning the streets. They're marching right there with the military, and they are just decimating Martians, and it's a great thing. So the saucers are starting to be affected by Slim Whitman, too. They're bouncing around up in the sky. The one with Kessler and Natalie is having problems. Their heads are rolling around. Natalie's head is now falling off the dog's body, so it's just heads. They land next to each other and absolutely profess their undying love for each other. They're absolutely in love, and their heads land close enough together where right before their end, they get to kiss the one time. And then they are definitely gone. We do not see them again. And now, finally, we're at the end. The battle is won, all right? The Martians have been defeated. I love these scenes, too, again, because of TJ. It's just life after. So we watch a squirrel and a bird and a tortoise.
Yeah, and a ferret.
And deer. They're all coming out of hiding. Ferret out. Exactly. They're all coming out of hiding around around the caves in Tahoe.
Yeah.
So Barbara, TJ, and Cindy. I call him TJ because he said I could. I'm just letting you know that.
Okay.
They emerge from the caves, and a dove of all things lands on Barbara. Yep. Cindy's holding a ferret for whatever fucking reason. and Tom Jones pets some deer. And you referenced this earlier, Joe. You look in Lake Tahoe, and yeah, it was never attacked, but there were like 100 saucers in Lake
Yeah,
Tahoe.
like, what the hell did all those come from?
Exactly. So they're all down. We're back in D.C. I'm laughing because I love this scene too. We're back in D.C. The Capitol is decimated. They're standing on the steps, and all they could find was a mariachi band to play the Star Spangled Banner.
I laughed so hard.
And even they're all fucked up. They're bandaged up. They got slings on, but they're playing their hearts out. They're playing the Star Spangled Banner. And of course, Taffy's the only one left, the first daughter. No, the Congress is gone. The president, everybody's gone. So she's it. So they're going to rebuild now. So she's there to give Grandma and Richie their congressional medals of honor. And Grandma, and her last fucking zinger is a great one too. She gets the medal. She's so happy, and she looks at Taffy, and her response is, "Thank you, honey, but don't you dare let this happen again."
Yeah.
And we move on to Richie. He gets his medal, and he gives like I have in quotes, a speech. He talks about the need to rebuild, and there's plenty of people braver than him that should be here. I think he's referencing his brother because he did always love his brother, even if he got shit on for it. So I think he's referencing his brother in that, I guess, a touching moment. Again, it might be reading into it. Who the fuck knows?
I think it'd be really cool if we all lived in teepees.
Teepees instead of houses. I know, it's so fucking great. And then for some reason that absolutely ignites a little spark of flirt in the first daughter, in the angsty teen. Because she's like, "Do you have a boyfriend? I mean, do you have a girlfriend?" So he might catch some with the first daughter. So that's pretty cool. So then we come to the penultimate scene. There's one more after this. We're back in D.C. in the neighborhood. Louise is cleaning the apartment, and the boys are pushing a dead alien off the bed. We pan outside and see that the whole front of the building is gone. So all the apartments are open. Things are a mess. There's a dead alien on the floor, and a giant foot just comes down and squishes that brain, and the green goo goes everywhere. And we pan up to see Byron, because nothing is going to stop that man. He was on a mission to get home, to be with his wife and kids, and he succeeded in that mission. So we see him running into the apartment, and it's a cool moment because Byron's a cool character. They're all cool. The boys did their job, and now they're going to all be together. So we're happy about that. And then the last scene,
Bum, 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 bum,
Tom Jones in all his glory.
bum, bum,
This is the
bum,
best.
bum, 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 bum,
He's
bum,
standing there in the
bum,
trees,
bum, bum,
and he puts his arm up, and a
bum, bum,
fucking eagle comes flying down and lands on his arm. It's so cool.
I
And
like
that
the
eagle's-
fucking Roadrunner that's looking both ways.
Yeah. The animals are dancing, and he's popping that arm, and the eagle's just hanging out. And, yes, it's not unusual. Starts again, and all the animals are dancing, and then the
The
credits roll.
irony is extremely unusual.
Yeah, exactly. And then the credits roll, and we've got ourselves a movie. So,
Do we really, though?
Do we?
oh, come on now.
I mean, it's no big trouble.
That's true. Pales in comparison.
That's true. So that's it, boys. So we got some ratings to talk about here. We'll go with Joe. Joe, what do you got here? What do you think?
All right. I do enjoy this movie quite a bit, and I'm always a fan of Tim Burton, and I actually am one of the few people who wasn't confused when I said Planet of the Apes is a good movie. So
No, I'm sorry.
I actually quite like Planet of the Apes. I thought that's one of those movies I really like a lot.
Yeah, but you like Big Trouble too.
I do. Thank you. And that was my throwback with a Pat Buchanan. I wasn't confused.
Exactly. Oh no, I knew that. I knew that was your throwback. Exactly.
So this movie with its cast, with its crazy, just random absurdity, it's going to be something. It's going to be up my alley.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the rewatchability to me that
No.
Big Trouble has. I
100%
will
agree,
rewatch
though.
it, but it's not like every time it's on. I'd probably put this at like a 3.2.
Okay. No, that's respectable. I get it, and I don't disagree with your critique on it.
It's not amazing, but I'll watch it.
It's definitely not a rewatch. It's not
And
something that
people-
if it's on, I'm not going to stop. So,
And if you haven't watched it, I would definitely suggest it to watch it.
yeah, absolutely. Because I think overall, it's a well put together movie. Burton does what he needs to do. There's enough fresh jokes in it. There's enough
Yeah.
subversive humor in it to keep you entertained throughout. But, yeah, it's not close to the best movie you're going to watch, definitely.
I made all my kids watch it yesterday.
Cool.
They enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The part they laughed the hardest at was when the music came on, the ooh, and the alien head started blowing up.
That's great. All right, so Eric, what do you got?
This movie is a tapestry of nightmares.
And it
No.
came out before Christmas.
Now, to be fair, I dig elements of this movie. Like, I like the throwback sci-fi 50s homage-ness that it's got going on. It's just such a weird movie, and not in a Tim Burton-y way, in a, like, why does this exist kind of
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, I get it.
I would give this movie a 3 because there's enough redeeming qualities in it. Some of it was really funny. I mean, it's a genuinely funny flick. Yeah, 3.0. So it does rank for me better than the last movie,
Right.
just by a hair that we
Yep.
got into. Yeah, I can't see myself watching this thing again unless it's like to prove a point.
No, I
Movie
like how you
Iron
rated
Man,
this one
yeah.
higher, but they don't even have a line like "you stupid fat asshole."
Yeah.
No, and again, I can respect that rating because I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I've already said it, but I mean, I'll say it again. Yeah, it's not a movie I'm going to stop at. Well, put it this way: if I happen to be switching channels and Tom Jones is on, that shit's staying. From that point forward, I'll watch the movie just for TJ. Okay, and that's also going to influence my score a bit. But I completely get it. You're right, Eric. It's very un-Tim Burton like because Tim Burton always offers that magic. There's no other word for it. You know what I mean? He builds magic into into the worlds that he creates. And this was as crazy as it was with Martians attacking. It was much more straightforward.
Yeah.
I totally dug the Martian sense of humor and the trolling. I absolutely love that. And it's something that I didn't remember because I haven't watched the movie in a while until, I prepped for the show. So I completely dug that subversive sense of humor, that dark, just black humor, and the way they messed with us. That said, if I wasn't a Tom Jones fan, it probably would be a 3, but I'm going to bump it up 3 full decimals to a 3.3.
Wow.
Okay.
I wonder if Tom Jones had like a spike in sales that year after this movie came
No,
out.
see, that's where you don't understand Tom Jones enough. He doesn't need a spike. He is perpetually spiked.
No,
No,
I'm just wondering
seriously.
if like after because like I remember after this movie came out, I went and got some Tom Jones records because like I was like, oh shit, this guy fucking knows
I
his
agree.
shit.
He probably found a younger audience. He definitely found a younger audience after that. I mean, because, look, I know Tom Jones from when I was a kid because, like, my mom and my aunt would go to Tom Jones concerts and, they'd throw underwear up on stage. Okay?
Yeah. I
So,
don't know how that guy, like looking at him, it got women so in the mood.
no, it was him and my mom was actually an Engelbert Humperdinck fan. They were, like, competing. He was like, Engelbert was like he was like, he could never catch up to Tom Jones. He was always a little behind him. But my mom was an Engelbert fan, but she loved Tom Jones too. So, I mean, I grew up hearing that music in my house all the time. And I just dig the dude. I dig his charisma. I just dig his vibe. So, yeah. So 3.3. That's mine.
All right.
Oh,
Quick question. Why are these aliens so horny if they don't have any genitalia?
Maybe that's why. It's a lot of pent-up energy. But you're right. On the surface, that's a valid question. Because, yeah, what the hell's going on?
Just food for thought as we.
Then why are they wearing underwear if they have no genitalia?
True.
Well, they
Good
don't
point.
have. They may have assholes. You got to cover
Ah,
something.
it's true.
Well, they are assholes.
Very well said.
Yes, they are. So, yeah.
Plugs, guys? Anyone want to plug something?
Sure, I'll do it again. 37 Effects for my pedal, the Fat Guy Little Coat. Doing custom colors. I got a couple of different pricing tiers for people now. So I've got a less expensive $100 version that's a little simpler and I can get to you quicker. And then there's the custom color. That's $125. and you can hit me up and we can talk about, what's possible, what's not possible, and how you'd like to decorate your pedal. So 37FX, Instagram, the word 30, the number 7, FX.
I would like to plug my ears and eyes after watching these movies. No, I'm
That's
just
the
kidding.
winner. That's a winner.
Artofericpabone.com. Come check me out for all your custom art needs. I have a t-shirt shop too, where you can get a Masters of the Cinematic Universe t-shirt.
Yes.
Which I ordered a sample of. It came out pretty cool. That's Art of Eric Pabone, PABON.threadless.com.
Yeah, good stuff.
And you can catch me on my other podcast as well, Just Surprise Me. There is an R in surprise. A lot of people like ask me, you'd be surprised how many people don't know that.
Yeah. I'd say there's about 69 million people in the United States who don't know that.
Well, they're about to be surprised.
Exactly, and there's 74 million who do know that.
That's pretty good. If you want some more complicated pedals that take a lot longer and have a bunch of crazy fancy stuff on them, hit me up. Like My Pedals on Facebook.
Great stuff.
Doug's the master, like he's the 10,000 hour principle, and I'm the jack of all trades, master of none principle.
Yeah. Well, that's because I don't know shit about pedals. So I gotta focus on the one that I make good.
I just ordered a bunch of shit tonight too, so I just placed a $500 parts order.
Oh, I didn't go that big, but I had a big one come today too. Yeah.
I was running out of potentiometers. I'm I need to get some more pots, so I ordered 20 of every size pot.
Holy shit! See, I only need one size, so makes it a little easier right now.
I ordered way too much shit, way too much shit, but it's cool.
Yeah.
So guys, we're gonna be doing another movie on the next episode.
Yeah, you may have heard about it.
We are?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's a little movie that deals with a real touchy subject.
Is that mothers wanting to have sex with their sons?
That's exactly what I was thinking about. I'm glad you got that, because I thought you were gonna say something else, and I was gonna be no, I'm talking about when the mom wants to bang her son.
Yeah, exactly.
So you oh, damn, are we that sympathetic already?
Yeah, we're on the same wavelength, my friend.
Yeah. So yeah,
we are gonna get into Back to the Future.
Yes.
Yep.
Can't wait. I cannot wait.
So blast your Huey Lewis in the news, strap on your Nike mags, and get ready to sail your hoverboard down to Nostalgia Town.
Exactly.
Don't be a butthead.
Whatever you do, don't mention Ray Parker in front of Huey Lewis, okay?
Oh. Because we got that sound you guys have been looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because a white guy invented rock and roll, too. There's some troublesome retcons in this one. We'll go over all that.
Yeah,
and played a Gibson that hadn't been made yet.
Exactly. It's from the future. Come on.
Very true.
Yeah, so he's back in the future.
Yeah.
Although, ironically, does he ever go to the future? Except for part two.
Part two.
Yeah, part two.
Yeah. Yep. Anyways, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. Back to the Future is going to be the next movie we will be bringing you guys. So, once again, thank you for putting up with our nonsense and foolishness, and hopefully you get a little bit of enjoyment out of this, and maybe learn something about these movies that you've been watching forever that you just never picked up on before.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, join the Facebook group.
Join the Facebook group. I was just going to say,
right.
we want to hear from you. We want to know what we're doing right, what we might not be doing to your taste, and we'll probably tell you to go fuck off. But
yeah. And if you
we'll
thought
listen
that was
to the
Will
advice
Forte,
anyway.
If you thought that was Will Forte in that movie also. If you thought that was Will Forte and Fran Drescher, that's who I was thinking of.
Oh, yeah, but no. No. Okay. Nope. All right, boys and girls.
Bye-bye.
By the power of Grayskull.
Oh, yeah, Kevin, we need a catchphrase.
We need a Masters of the Cinematic Universe outro thing.
Yeah.
All right, Doug says lights, Joe says camera, and I say, fuck off.
Lights.
Camera.
Fuck off.
It's not unusual to be loved by anyone. It's not unusual to have fun with anyone. When I see you hanging about with anyone, it's not unusual to see me cry. I wanna die. It's not unusual to go out at any time. But when I see you out and about, it's such a crime. If you should